Here is the complete rewritten script with all pause and beat markers removed following the updated format. Let me tell you about the biggest loser in the entire royal court. His name is Alec, and this guy was the kind of magician who made people yawn just by existing. When he was a kid, some mysterious old man asked if he wanted to learn magic, and Alec said yes, like the desperate nerd he was. He trained for hours, struggling to even shoot a fireball, while his teacher 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴 had to walk him through visualization exercises, like he was teaching a toddler how to tie his shoes. 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴 told him to imagine hitting his target and to picture the companions he'd have in the future. One day, his friends would be in danger, and Alec would have to use magic to save them. That actually worked, because this pathetic loser desperately wanted to protect the people he cared about. So, 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴 told him to use that feeling while breathing in. Finally, 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴 told him to open his eyes and release the attack, and Alec managed to fire 2 fireballs. He couldn't be happier, and his proud teacher praised him. Alec said today's spell was exceptionally hard, because it took most of the day, but 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴 pointed out that a normal person takes an entire month to learn the same spell. Alec was eager to learn another spell, but 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴 didn't want to overwhelm him since that would reduce training effectiveness, so 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴 made him relax by fishing, but Alec said fishing was boring and all he could think about was learning another spell. To temper his young apprentice, 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴 told Alec he had a natural talent for being a mage. Even without his guidance, 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴 was sure Alec would become a first-rate mage. Like the flow of water in a river, he wanted Alec to leave everything to fate. Of course, that made Alec wonder why he taught him magic in the first place. 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴 seemed hesitant to answer and got out of it when he caught a fish. 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴 was an excellent magic teacher but useless when it came to fishing, so Alec helped him pull the fish in. The two had a good laugh after that and called it a day. The very next morning, Alec was back to training. Today's magic formula was harder than normal, but 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴 assured his student he could do it. The days would then pass with Alec learning a different spell each day. But not everything was work for the two, as one day they had fun in a magic-induced snowball fight. Unfortunately, good days don't last forever, because one day, 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴 revealed he was leaving the capital. Alec was heartbroken because that meant they wouldn't see each other again, and 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴 was also clearly bothered. 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴 never finished advising his student though, so he told Alec that even if he had the chance to become a court mage, he shouldn't do it. Alec didn't understand why, but what he wanted to know most was why 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴 decided to teach him magic in the first place. 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴 struggled with his emotions, but managed to smile, explaining that it was because Alec's mother did him a favor back when she was alive. Those would be 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴's last words to his young apprentice, leaving Alec speechless. Many years later, we find an adult Alec at the Royal Magic Academy. Of course, he could never forget his great teacher, so he searched for him and found out that 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴 graduated as the top student of his class. 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴 became a court mage, but for some reason was banished. Alec concluded that's why 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴 was so sad most of the time, so he devised a plan. He made it his goal to change the entire imperial court system. Alec swore to do whatever he could to repay 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴's favor to him, and for that, he decided to become a court mage himself. Years later, we see that Alec managed to become a court mage, but now he's being banished by Prince Regulus. Regulus wondered if Alec knew what his role was, so Alec replied that he should simply help Regulus using magic. Regulus was clearly hinting at something by asking Alec if he did his job correctly in the previous battle, and Alec had no answer. Regulus pointed out that as the brave prince he is, he always wields his sword on the front lines. That's his job. Their tank, John, uses his shield to firmly block enemies, and Miguel uses fire magic to repel monsters. That's their job. Alec, on the other hand, can only cast support magic, like defense and enhancement, which he said isn't enough. Much more is expected of a court mage, so Regulus wondered if Alec was just a mage in name only. Alec admitted he'd only been casting support magic the whole time, but explained there was a good reason for it. Regulus didn't believe him, so he didn't listen to Alec, and simply told him to admit he only specializes in support magic. Regulus called him pathetic for not admitting how weak he is, and the rest of the team also attacked him. Len pointed out that Alec is always warning about going too far in the dungeon, but she thinks he should just admit he's scared. Alec couldn't believe what he was hearing from his former group, but Lane explained she was just holding her tongue. The king was the one who ordered Alec to be on the team, but they're at their limit. They're no longer willing to hold back. They're all tired of clearing dungeons with dead weight like Alec in their group. Hall heard that Alec excelled at the Magic Academy, but now it's clear to him that Alec never managed to do anything without others' help. Alec begged for a chance to explain, but Regulus noticed he was carrying a dagger. That enraged the prince, so he took Alec's dagger and reminded him that he issued an order saying commoners cannot carry weapons. Alec understood, but explained that he's sure they'll need it on the next floor of the dungeon. Regulus had no interest in listening, however, as he refused to let anyone act on their own in his team. He said that's why he opposed letting a commoner join his group, and regrets not having fought harder against it. Regulus then tore the court mage's robe off Alec's back and told him he wasn't worthy of it. Regulus finished explaining, then simply told Alec that this group doesn't need him. He instructed him to go home, and Alec was in shock. That night, Alec diligently studied the dungeon, and we see how efficient his study is as he reads several books at once using magic. Alec created a detailed assessment of all the dangers on the 13th floor's tricerans, and determined that Regulus's group doesn't have enough magic to go that far. His assessment was based on monster strength, environmental hazards, and historical failure rates. With the current group composition, Alec didn't believe Regulus's group would survive the 13th floor. Alec knew why he did what he could to help, but in the end, he couldn't build the trust with the prince he'd hoped for. Just before giving up, however, Alec determined there was one more thing he could try. There's no chance Regulus would listen to his warnings, so Alec decided to go to the king. Unfortunately, Alec was barred at the castle gate since he'd been stripped of his court mage position. Commoners aren't allowed in the castle without permission, but Alec insisted because he had an important message. At that moment, Len appeared to remind him that he'd been fired. She pointed out that he's no longer a court mage, but nothing more than a commoner. Len had heard many stories about the great things Alec accomplished at the Magic Academy, so she was disappointed to learn that they must be wrong. A rumor even said that Alec set a record by clearing the capital's dungeon. The furthest anyone had gone before was the 30th floor, but Alec supposedly managed to surpass that by reaching the 68th floor. Len never really believed that, and now she thinks she was right. Alec chose to ignore her insults as she left because he had something important he wanted to give the king. He reminded her that the king ordered him to join Regulus's group, so that means the king trusts him. Alec's message is for the prince's benefit, and he's sure the king will listen if he receives the message. Len came back to accept his letter, but she ended up tearing it to pieces. She was done listening to the commoner, so she told the gods to get rid of him. Afterward, Alec thought about how it had been 4 years since he graduated and concluded that he did his best as a court mage. He must apologize to 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐭𝐚𝐭𝐨, however, because in the end, he failed to change the imperial court. A girl from his past greeted him, and Alec said hello to his old friend Yura. It's been 4 years since they last saw each other, but she can still tell something's bothering him. Alec apologized for being so down and expressed how much he hates being in the kingdom of Galdana. It's because here they still believe in all that old-fashioned stuff about nobles and commoners, and there's still a lot of discrimination because of it. Yura is sad about what happened to him, but she says she's also kind of happy, and she remembers what she once told him. She swore to make Alec join her group one day, so she reveals that's why she came to the capital. This is her chance. So she asks Alec if he'd like to clear dungeons again with his old group. Yura really wants him to join, as she explains she could really use his help. Alec is stunned because it's a stark contrast to how he was treated in Regulus's group. Alec is a former court mage who was kicked off the team for being useless, so he's lost a lot of his confidence. Fortunately for him, Yura doesn't care about any of that. She knows Alec is more than he thinks of himself now, and tells him she doesn't need anyone else but him. Her kind words really touched him, and she revealed that her team decided that everyone would come to get him one day. She doesn't want to force him in case he has other plans, but her speech has already made a huge impact on our hero. He agrees to join them again, and she welcomes him back to their rank group. Later, Alec has a dream, remembering how 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐭𝐴 warned him against becoming a court mage. Yura wonders if he's okay, and Alec simply says his old teacher was right about something. At the castle, Regulus is informed that Alec left the kingdom to become an adventurer, and they mock their former party member. Alec was considered the greatest student the Magic Academy had ever seen, so Regulus was curious about how amazing he really was. After seeing him in person though, Regulus determined he was just a coward. Len is just happy they're no longer working with a useless commoner. Alec's replacement will be the genius son of a duke. His name is Volgon, and he'll be much more useful because he's a real noble. With the change, Len is sure they'll get through the dungeon like no one before. She declares that the whole world will know Regulus's name, and everyone laughs like madmen. Back to our hero, we see that he's arrived at the dungeon city called 𝐵𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆. Yura really likes it here because they don't suffer from the same prejudice problems as the kingdom, and it served as their group's base for years. Before they can go into one of the dungeons though, Alec must register as an adventurer. The registration was easy enough, but there's a different problem. In the city of 𝐵𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆, adventurers must have a pass to go beyond the 13th floor of any dungeon. The problem with this is that adventurers can only get the pass after being part of a guild for 2 years. Alec obviously doesn't qualify since he just registered, so they'll have to wait. They decide to take a break where Yura explains that their group reached the 52nd floor of the dungeon they're working on now. She wants Alec to join them, but there's no way they can wait 2 whole years. Yura decides not to dwell on where they can't go and focuses on where they can. She reminds her that no pass is required for the earlier floors of dungeons, and there should be a good place for them to warm up. They're adventurers after all, and they're in the dungeon city where there are plenty of options. Moments later, we find the two in the middle of a battle inside the 2nd floor of a dungeon. Yura uses a boost spell on Alec, and he manages to eliminate several of the wasp monsters surrounding him. Suddenly, Yura gets a little uncomfortable. She intended this little trip to be a casual warm-up, but something's wrong. She wonders if her eyes are deceiving her, as the number of wasps has multiplied drastically, but Alec confirms they're real. The wasps also seem very agitated, so Alec determines that something must have happened to their nest. Yura creates a shield to attract the wasp's attention, but Alec tells her not to rush. Yura surprises him though when she says she can handle it. Normally, these monsters wouldn't be a problem for Alec, but she notices he's still not at full strength. She knows what he's capable of, but something is is holding him back, so she tells Alec to leave it to her. It won't be easy for her, but Yura says helping him while he's down is exactly what a comrade does. Her words hit Alec deep, and he remembers that he's no longer a court mage. Just as he was taught, Alec declares that to save his precious comrade, he must use magic. Alec says he's an adventurer now, so he doesn't need to hold back anymore, and he finally uses an attack spell to eliminate several wasps. Even more appear, but this time Yura is much more confident since she has the real Alec by her side now. Well, she creates a barrier for him to do what he knows best, like in the old days, and Alec uses a spell to rain lightning from the sky, eliminating every monster. Yura celebrates, but it's short-lived as a giant furious worm emerges from the ground. Alec realizes that's why the insects were agitated, but there's no time to think. The worm has caught Yura, but Alec has a plan. He knows exactly which spell to use, but he doesn't want to hurt his friend. So he reminds Yura that she had the best defensive support magic in the academy. The two always made a great team, so Yura knows exactly what he's planning. She reminds him that he had the strongest attack magic in the school. With them on the same page, Alec finally uses the powerful spell. He calls it Sacrificial Flame and releases it upon the beast. Yura protects herself while the monster is engulfed by Alec's flames, and our two heroes emerge victorious. Alec says he believed in Yura the whole time, and she's happy to see that Alec is the strongest mage, just as he always was. Then we take a look at the past to see when they were at the academy. Their group was in battle against a fierce dragon. Things were getting worse, as the dragon managed to use 5 elemental attacks, one after another, and Yura was almost out of strength after having to defend against all of them. The beast was about to eliminate them, but Alec arrived just in time to completely eliminate it with just one attack. This was the day when Alec and his group reached the 68th floor of the royal dungeon, confirming that the legendary rumor was true. Their group couldn't be happier, and they swore to stay together until the end. Back in the present, Alec and Yura celebrate their victory over the giant monster. It's also a welcome party for Alec, but Yura reveals that she's actually in a bad mood. Alec's last fire spell nearly turned her into roasted chicken, but Alec points out that he knew she'd be fine, and Yura spends all her energy shouting and screaming, so she ends up passing out in her chair. Alec realizes she still can't hold her drink, so he covers her. At that moment, a mysterious man appears to compliment Alec on his chivalry. Well, this guy turns out to be a jerk, as he mocks our hero for acting like a simp, so Alec simply ignores him. That really irritates the guy, as he thinks Alec has an attitude, so he plans to teach him some good manners by smashing a bottle of liquor over Alec's head. He's impressed, however, as Alec easily blocks his attack by casting a shield spell without even blinking. The guy is satisfied when Alec finally acknowledges him, and Alec is shocked when the guy already knows his full name. This guy's name is Levi, and he heard that Alec used to be a court mage. That made him wonder what one of the elite like Alec was doing in the middle of nowhere, acting like a simple adventurer. Alec then is surprised when Levi gives him a pass so he can go below the 30th floor of dungeons, but there's only one condition. Levi wants to see Alec's magic first, so Alec wonders who this guy is. Yura wakes up from her drunken sleep and reveals that Levi is actually the guild master. Alec is stunned to have been talking to the guild master the whole time, and Levi tells Alec to come with him. Moments later, Levi welcomes Alec. The guild's underground arena is mostly used to test groups that want to rank up, so Alec realizes Levi wants to test his skills. Levi explains there's only one rule. Alec simply has to impress him with his magic. Yura points out that they just fought a monster, but Alec says it's fine since he still has a bit of mana left. It's not much, but this is the perfect opportunity for him to catch up to the others in his group, and he's not going to let it pass. Levi introduces himself formally, and Alec realizes he's heard his name before. It turns out Levi is the incredibly powerful mage who used to lead a famous S-rank group. Levi says that was a long time ago, so there's no way to know what will come of their battle, and he allows Alec to begin. Alec starts with a massive lightning attack, but Levi quickly dodges it and counters with a water attack called Torrent. Alec barely avoids it, but he can instantly tell that Levi has the advantage when it comes to long-range attacks. Alec charges at him but stops in his tracks when Levi uses an enchantment spell called Jet Booster. That makes him insanely fast, and even the powerful Alec has trouble keeping up with his movements. Levi flies across the arena to deliver a charge punch, and Alec barely manages to block it in time. The pure force still throws him against a wall, but Alec is nowhere near finished. He praises Levi for his speed and acknowledges that he was definitely an S-rank adventurer. Alec's first thought is about how to dodge Levi's attacks, but he laughs as he realizes something now. Alec was a court mage for so long that he developed some bad habits. He thought like a court mage for years, which meant focusing only on being support. Alec is no longer bound by those rules, and he realizes he doesn't need to hold back anymore. Levi is intrigued by Alec's revelation, so he eagerly tells him to bring it on. At that moment, Alec uses a magic blade spell to create an energy sword. Using a shield and a sword as a mage is strange and unheard of, so Levi wonders what Alec is really capable of. Alec charges like a warrior this time, and Levi's torn spell isn't nearly enough to stop him. Levi has fought countless battles against a vast number of opponents, so he's not intimidated in the slightest as he tells Alec that his blade will be no match for his enhanced fists. Alec isn't a fool, so he acknowledges how hard hard it will be to stop Levi and his incredible speed, but he has a plan. Levi uses his jet booster again, but this time Alec is ready. He predicts Levi's movement and launches a preemptive attack, aiming at the area in front of him. Levi is literally stunned when Alec's lightning spell hits, and he follows up with a powerful strike using his blade. Levi is impressed that Alec managed to overcome his magic in such a short time, and now he understands why Ura speaks so highly of him. Alec only now realizes that Ura was the reason he got the approval, but there's no time to think. Levi completely changes his demeanor, and he wonders if Alec is having as much fun as he is. He uses a spell called Dragon Gauntlets, and it summons a pair of gauntlets onto his fists. It's Levi's favorite artifact, and he tells Alec that now they're fighting for real. Levi closed the distance again using Jet Booster, and Alec is the one shocked this time as Levi's attack smashes the ground. Levi wonders if Alec will surrender now, but Alec calls that a stupid question. Instead, Alec uses his lightning attack to land a direct hit, but Levi doesn't even move, and it has no effect on him. Alec then runs to shield himself from a direct punch from Levi, and Levi points out that Alec won't pass the test by running away. Levi's gauntlets begin to glow, and Ura is horrified to see that Levi is activating their special ability. It possesses a healing ability, which means Levi can fight as much as he wants while also healing himself. The longer the battle drags on, the worse it will be for Alec. So Alec decides he simply won't give Levi the chance to heal. He attacks Levi with a barrage of strikes to put immense pressure on him, but Levi declares it won't be enough. He insists that Alec will have to push much harder, or else he'll heal himself completely in no time. Alec smiles, however, as he can sense a bit of fear in Levi, but that only irritates his non-stop opponent. Levi desperately wants to wipe the smile off Alec's face, but Alec quickly dodges the attack. His counterattack barely misses as Levi avoids the critical strike, and Levi demands that he just give up. He throws punches with brute force, but Alec dodges them with precision. Levi is getting really frustrated now as he tells Alec to just fall already, and his next punch manages to destroy Alec's weakened shield. Ura knows exactly what Alec is thinking, that this is the opening he was waiting for. She encourages our hero, and Alec lands a critical strike. Levi is a true beast, however, as he plans to take Alec down along with him, so he delivers a brutal blow right on top of his head. Alec shocks everyone by avoiding the attack with lightning speed, and he appears behind Levi. He mockingly asks Levi what he thinks of the test now, and prepares to deliver the decisive blow. His attack fails, however, as his blade breaks. It's turned back into a simple wand at the worst possible moment, and Alec realizes he's simply run out of mana. His clear victory just slips from his fingers, and he collapses to the ground with nothing left to give. Ura says he's at his limit, but that doesn't matter to Alec since he's already made his decision. He prepares to say what it is, but he's interrupted by someone. This guy is disappointed to see that everyone was having fun without him, and we find out his name is Honest. Honest calls Levi a pathetic old man, because an S-rank adventurer forced to use his most powerful techniques isn't a good look. Levi doesn't want to hear that and reveals that he was about to approve Alec for having endured all his most powerful attacks and still come out victorious. He has nothing to complain about now, so Levi declares that Alec can have the approval. Honest approaches his old friend and declares that he won that crazy bet he made. A flashback shows when the students of Alec's class at the academy attended their graduation. Everyone was disappointed to see that no one from Alec's group showed up, since they had high expectations for them. He and his group went to the royal dungeon at the last moment and simply couldn't make it back in time for graduation. Everyone was sure something bad had happened, but some of the students had no sympathy for them. They said it was reckless for Alec and his group to try to set a new clean floor record, no matter how good they were. The royal dungeon is an incredibly dangerous place, and that record hadn't been broken in over 100 years. Of course, everyone was shocked when Alec's group arrived after reaching the 68th floor of the dungeon. Oh, that was 31 floors beyond the old record. And the most shocking thing is that they even cleared the floor with the Hydra boss. The school director then granted diplomas to the four. Fourth in the entire class was Honest. Third was the member named Kurata. Second was Ura. And Alec was the class valedictorian. Everyone thanked Director Rose, but she was quick to correct them and reminded them that her name was Rosa. This noisy group then left to celebrate. On the way, however, Alec announced to his group that he decided to become a court mage. He acknowledged that his father was against it, but explained he had a good reason. His friends were shocked, but Krata had a hunch about why he was doing it. She recognized that court mages are very well paid. Alec confirmed her suspicion, explaining that he wanted to earn money so his father could finally live a peaceful life. His father raised Alec alone after Alec's mother died, so it was the least he could do. Additionally, Alec thought about how he wanted to change the system in honor of his old mentor. Alec wasn't oblivious, however, to how disappointing this news was to his friends. Everyone had planned to become adventurers together, but unfortunately that would have been the opposite of receiving a stable income. Honest was the most disappointed of all, as he pointed out that if Alec joined them, then they would have been the best group, composed of the 4 greatest geniuses the Academy had ever seen. Prada teased him for calling himself a genius, but Honest reminded him that he would have been the valedictorian if he'd graduated in any other year. Their friendly bickering made Alec smile, but Ura had an important message for him. She said that, although they may follow different paths at the moment. Eventually, she and the others would come to recruit Alec. Everyone then had an emotional moment, and all reminded him that he could always come to him if they were in trouble. Alec said he didn't know when it would happen, but when the time came, he'd join them again. This would be the last time they'd see each other for a while, so everyone promised to meet soon. Back in the present, Alec recovers after using all his mana during the test. Ornest heard that many things happened to Alec at court, and Yura confirms that it's a long story. Levi knows very well how arrogant people are in the capital, and Ornest points out that everyone there says commoners don't belong in the court. For them, only a person's lineage and title matter. Ornest would go crazy if he had to stay there for just one day, which makes him find it amazing that Alec managed to last for 4 years. Yura agrees a little too much for Ornest's taste, so the two start arguing. At that moment, the guild receptionist named Misha arrives to tell the guild master that something urgent is happening. It's time for Levi to get back to his real job, so he drags Misha with him and tells the others not to touch any of his drinks. Ornest immediately ignores his order, however, as he goes straight for the liquor cabinet. He tells Yura that he's ready to hear Alec's long story. Hours later, Ornest is furious to learn that Alec had to babysit the prince while on his team. That meant Alec couldn't carry a sword, and he had to carry their bags while managing inventory. Worst of all, though, is that Alec couldn't cast any spells to stand out. Yura shares her rage since they both know that Alec's whole group only wanted to treat him like trash. As if things couldn't get worse, Yura explains that they didn't even appreciate Alec and called his support magic useless. Ornest is quite surprised to learn that Alec can even use support magic because he didn't use it at school. Yura reminds him that support was her job at the academy, so Alec never had to worry about it. That means Alec learned all his support magic from scratch sometime after they separated. This is an incredible feat because she had no talent for support magic, but now even his defense magic is reaching very impressive levels. The rage only continues to grow inside Ornest, as he imagines Alec having to babysit the prince without using his sword or even his best magic. To top it off, the prince coldly banished him and said they didn't need him at all. Ornest's rage at his friend's mistreatment reaches its peak, and he smashes a bottle in pure fury. At that moment, Alec wakes up to wonder why Ornest is making so much noise, and Ornest replies that he's just solving some problems he's having. Yura is pleased to reveal that Alec passed the test, so now everyone can go together to the lower floors of the dungeon their group was working on. Ornest interrupts, however, and explains that they have more important matters to settle. Of course, that confuses Yura and Alec, so the insane Ornest declares that it's time for revenge. His plan is for them to storm the Galdana court and beat up the prince. Alec admits he's upset with how things ended, but explains that he's not as upset as the crazy Ornest seems to be. Ornest persists, however, as he reminds Alec that this isn't the kind of thing a person should just passively accept. Alec calms his old friend and simply explains that his solution isn't how the world works. Fighting other groups is forbidden, and there are serious consequences. Yura also doesn't agree with what they did to Alec, but she acknowledges that there's really nothing they can do. Alec doesn't want them to be upset, so he reminds them that they're together again now, and that's all that matters. Instead of dwelling on the past, they'll just have as much fun as possible in their adventures from here on out. Alec then says that the simple fact that he's happy is more than enough for him to take revenge on the prince. Ornest completely agrees with that as another idea pops into his head. He excitedly realizes that they just need to become the strongest adventurers in the entire world. Their names will be known by everyone, and Ornest is sure that anyone who betrayed Alec will regret their decision. The very petty Ornest also points out that when the country is in trouble and in desperate need of help, they'll have no choice but to crawl to them. His head fills with fantasies, and he even imagines people calling him Ornest the Great while begging for his help. Ornest wonders what Alec thinks of his idea, but he doesn't even wait for the answer since he's sure Alec is excited to start. He takes his imagination even further by saying they'll refuse to help the prince at first. Only when they humble themselves will they receive the power of their group. Alec really likes the idea of becoming the strongest group in the world because it's much better than simply being the prince's guard. The two are excited, and they declare that this will be their goal from now on. Elsewhere, we see that a girl has suffered serious damage, and Levi has arrived to speak with her. The girl is from an S-rank group, but something caused them a lot of trouble. Trouble for an S-rank group means trouble for the entire guild. So, Levi demands that this girl named Krista tell him what happened. The matter is much worse than anyone could imagine, so she simply tells Levi that they need help, and that they need to gather some people immediately. Levi gathers a room full of adventurers, including our heroes, and informs them of the situation. There aren't many adventurers since it was short notice, but they had no choice. Levi reveals that he's putting together a group to rescue Krista's group called Rokroma. They're on the 64th floor of a dungeon, and it's called the Tank Killer level. Back with Alec, we see that he's still recovering when he's shocked to see that Krista has arrived. Both wonder how the other is doing, and Krista presumes that things aren't going well for our hero based on his appearance. Krista wonders why he didn't come to the meeting, so Alec points out that Levi asked for the city's A-rank adventurers to attend. Alec still considers himself a stray stranger, so he didn't want to interfere. Then Krista surprisingly heals all his wounds and gets straight to the point. She explains that she won't ask questions about where he's been or what he's been doing, but if he's in pain, he needs to tell her. Healing magic is her specialty after all, and she always wants to make sure her friends are in good shape. That includes emotionally. So Alec opens up to her. He reveals that he hasn't gotten rid of the habits he picked up while at court. He still holds back a lot and still gets scared. Krista helps him admit that things were really hard for him because of how the nobles treated him, and he thanks her for letting him vent. Suddenly, 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 bursts in and tells Alec that it's time for an amazing adventure. They've been personally recruited for a rescue mission, and it's the perfect opportunity to start their quest to become the strongest group. 𝐂𝐴 explains that the tank killer level in the dungeon is the one they were actually clearing. It's impossible to use healing magic down there, so Alec is surprised that Krista wasn't against them going there. Krista points out angrily that she was against it, but a certain idiot member of their team overruled her with his terrible decision. The two argue about who the real idiot is, but there are more important matters to discuss. The group called 𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 was fighting the floor boss on the tank killer level and was nearly annihilated. They sent Krista back alone to get help, so that's where they come in. 𝐂𝐴 reveals that the floor boss has certain properties, so they'll have to rely on Alec since he's the perfect counter. Ultimately, 𝐂𝐴 says it's up to him to decide whether they accept the mission and head to the 64th floor. He'll definitely have the hardest job in the fight against the floor boss, but Alec says it's no big deal. He's fully recovered thanks to Krista, and the only fear he has is that he might be a little out of practice when it comes to fighting at his full potential. They're ready to go, so 𝐂𝐴𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 insists they hurry so they can arrive before the others. The guild master is also going to the dungeon with his group, but 𝐂𝐴nest wants all the glory. Krista doesn't like how it looks like there will only be one extra group compared to Levi's, but Alec doesn't mind at all. 𝐂𝐴nest thinks they should be upset about being the secondary group, but Alec again doesn't care. In fact, he always knew that he's usually just an unnecessary extra piece. 𝐂𝐴nest realizes he's still stuck in that bad mindset from being at court, so he reminds him that there's no other person in this world who can take his place. Alec is the only person he trusts to be in his group, and he points out that the strongest group needs the strongest mage. 𝐂𝐴 adds by revealing that Levi said his group could only go on the mission if Alec joined them. Of course, the guild master was interested in his skills, and that gives Alec more confidence. 𝐂𝐴nest says he's going to register them now, as their group will officially be together again. They arrive at the dungeon, and 𝐂𝐴nest declares that it's time for the legendary Alec to get back on track. Alec apologizes for making his old friends wait, but they reply that they waited because they wanted to. They're no longer stuck in some tiny school, and now they have the whole world to explore. 𝐂𝐴nest assures them that they'll overcome any challenge they face, and soon the whole world will know their names. Alec's group is ready to enter the dungeon, and 𝐂𝐴 reminds them that their goal is to rescue the 𝐂𝐴 group. They're on the 64th floor, which is also known as the tank killer level, and healing magic doesn't work there. Trying to reach the 64th floor the normal way would take too long, but luckily there's a magic item that solves that. It's an orb that allows adventurers to avoid boss fights, up to the point where the orb was left. It's an absolutely indispensable item for people who want to reach the deeper levels of a dungeon because they don't have to redo the floors they've already cleared. The orb that our heroes have personally would only open the way up to the 52nd floor, but luckily Krista gave them hers. It'll be a shortcut straight to the 64th floor, so Alec can only wonder why the guild master would give them something so important. 𝐂𝐴 explains it's because the guild master has one of his own, and Krista reminds them that they're the B team on this mission. The 64th floor boss is an undead, so 𝐂𝐴 says they'll have to rely on Alec to fight it. Physical attacks aren't effective against it, so Alec's magic will have to do most of the work. The others want him to conserve his energy until they face the boss, but Alec doesn't want his friends to do all the work. 𝐂𝐴nest promises him that it won't be a problem, and their best option is to ensure that Alec isn't out of energy when they need him most. Krista adds that there will be plenty of monsters for everyone, and they'll have a lot of work soon. This dungeon is notoriously dangerous, so they're practically heading straight into hell. As if that weren't warning enough, Krista reminds them that the group that was nearly annihilated, the one they have to rescue, is full of S-rank adventurers. Our heroes aren't afraid, however, as this is the perfect way to start their journey to become the strongest group, and 𝐂𝐴 uses the orb to take them inside. On the 64th floor, they're immediately greeted by several monsters and skeletons. 𝐂𝐿𝒆 doesn't waste time as he pulverizes a bunch of them, and he wonders if this is all the 64th floor really has to offer. This crazy warrior charges forward to fight the army, and he ignores 𝐂𝐴's pleas for him to wait for her to cast her support magic on him. Alec is surprised to realize that 𝐂𝐿𝒆 has an artifact that he fights with. His weapon is called the 𝐴lmerich, the black lance that pierces and cuts. It's incredibly sharp and nearly impossible to break. Krista says it's a weapon made only for brute force, but Alec says it fits 𝐂𝐿𝒆 perfectly. 𝐂𝐿𝒆 is getting excited as he fights the entire army alone, and Alec is disappointed that there's nothing for the rest of them to do. Alec tries to offer his help, but 𝐂𝐿𝒆 wants them to leave these weaklings to him. Just then, Alec senses something, but his lightning attack hits nothing. Alec assumes he just imagined it, but he can't shake the feeling that something was there. A closer look reveals that a nearly invisible monster was following them. Alec hits it with his magic sword, and the creature is forced to reveal itself. It's a Grim Reaper, and 𝐂𝐿𝒆 praises Alec for not losing his touch. Mage, even after all those years suppressing his true power. The Reaper's terrifying scythe nearly cuts Alec in half, but he manages to block the attack. Alec yells at Honest when he realizes that Honest knew there was an invisible creature behind them the whole time. Honest admits he knew, but says he didn't do anything because he doesn't know how to fight monsters like that. However, he had no doubt that Alec could defend himself. Honest adds that they're the perfect duo for this situation. He's ideal for forcefully cutting a path through an army of skeletons, and Alec's magic makes him the perfect opponent for the invisible Reaper. Alec is a bit annoyed that Honest didn't say anything, but Honest's confidence in him is something he hasn't felt in a long time. It's been 4 years since anyone has had expectations and trust in him. That still doesn't excuse what Honest did, so Alec takes out his anger on the Reaper and erases it from existence. He realizes soon after that the girls also knew the Reaper was there, but they say it was all Honest's idea. Alec decides he's going to settle the score with his old friend when they get out of the dungeon, but Honest points out that they'll have to get out alive first. Things soon get much harder than they expected, as the endless wave of skeletons keeps coming. Honest is happy about that, however, because it's the kind of thing that makes dungeons worth conquering. Yura quickly reminds them that they're not here to conquer, they're here to rescue. But Krista points out that there's no way to make him understand. Honest explains that he doesn't need to be a genius to crush skeletons into pieces. He declares that he could face the entire army alone. But Alec is tired of standing around and waiting. The two charge forward and Yura uses enhancement magic. The energized duo cuts through the monsters and Krista fires an arrow to help Honest. Yura tries to contribute with hand-to-hand attacks, but the more confident Alec decides to annihilate all the monsters at once. He instructs everyone to stand behind him and casts his powerful lightning spell. Lightning strikes down all the skeletons and the room is finally cleared. They're victorious, but something is bothering Honest. He noticed that Alec has only been using his lightning spell, not only in this dungeon, but Alec also used lightning when he fought Levi. Honest remembers that Alec had a vast number of spells in his arsenal before, so he wonders why Alec is limiting himself. Alec hadn't even noticed until now, but it has to do with the habit he picked up when he was in the prince's group. The prince never wanted Alec to use magic because it would make him look weaker, but the prince always put himself in danger against stronger opponents. Alec decided to always have a spell ready in case he needed to rescue the prince, and his lightning spell was always the fastest to activate. Alec doesn't explain everything though, and just tells the others that he's only been using it because it can be cast immediately. Honest realizes Alec is hiding something, but Alec pretends not to know what this crazy guy is talking about. They start arguing like old friends, but they're interrupted when the ground shakes. They've reached the deepest part of this floor, and Yura is scared by the terrifying sound of destruction ahead. Of course, the floor boss is in the next area, but Honest couldn't be happier. He instructs Yura to do the usual, so she gives him a boost spell. She tells him not to overdo it, and Honest takes off. Alec notices that Honest is much faster, even when boosted, so Yura explains that there's no way to keep up with him when he really wants to run. Honest was always fast, so Alec praises Yura's magic for really amplifying his abilities. He says that's why Yura is their leader, but that makes her blush, and she says she's just doing her job. Eventually, they catch up to Honest, but Alec sees a guy running for his life. The guy screams desperately for help as he's chased by the floor boss, and he points out that he can see Honest standing there. Yura says the monster looks pretty upset, and the poor guy is terrified, thinking he'll be eaten. Honest watches casually, but the guy points out that Krista sent him to help. He begs and pleads for someone to do something, but Honest calmly says the guy looks fine to him. Alec doesn't quite understand what's happening, so Honest explains that the guy who angered the monster down there is named Locke. He's a notoriously sneaky support mage, and is widely considered the worst trash in the Rechroma group. Locke warns Honest that he's going to make him pay, because even if his life ends here, he'll haunt Honest as a ghost. He promises to whisper horrible curses in his ear every night, and make scary noises when he least expects it. Unfortunately, his end may come sooner than expected as he trips and falls to the ground. Alec is ready to rescue him, but Krista stops him and explains that Locke is fine. It may look really bad, but this is how Locke fights. At that moment, as the monster approaches, Locke cracks a smile on his face. The floor boss falls straight into his magic trap, and a beam of fire pierces the beast. Alec is impressed with Locke's skills, and Krista reluctantly admits that the guy is a meticulous strategist. The beast stumbles into even more of Locke's traps, and the attacks that emerge from them cause great damage. Locke gets full of himself pretty quickly, as he now turns to taunt the beast. He calls it an idiot because he can't believe it actually thought he tripped. His taunt intensifies as he laughs in the beast's face, but this soon backfires. This is still a level boss, and that's proven when the monster prepares an attack. The space around Locke begins to distort just from the brute force caused by the monster's preparation. Locke only now realizes how much danger he's in, but it's too late. The beast releases the attack, destroying everything in sight, but Locke is shocked to find that he's still alive somehow. Honest just saved him, and he tells Locke that he was very lucky. Honest tried to tell the others to leave Locke alone for a while, but Alec ran to save him anyway. The others followed, and that's the only reason 𝐂𝐿𝐴 is alive now. The three now face the floor boss, and 𝐿𝐴LIC announces that it's time for the game to begin. The beast attacks them immediately, but 𝐸𝑢𝑟A blocks it with her shield. 𝐿𝐴LIC is ready to attack, but the beast turns and runs in the other direction. The girls think it's fleeing, but 𝐿𝐴LIC realizes it's actually going after 𝐿𝐿𝐴. 𝐸𝑢𝑟A celebrates when 𝐿𝐴LIC lands a lightning attack, but 𝐿𝐴LIC realizes it wasn't enough. The beast has very tough skin, and it's going to take a very strong attack to break through. The floor boss is about to get the guys, so 𝐂𝐿NEST has no choice but to turn and run in the other direction. This works for a moment as 𝐂𝐿NEST manages to maneuver under the monster, but Krista calls him crazy. She points out that he's just bringing the beast back to them, but 𝐂𝐿NEST has an idea. He tells Krista to catch, and he throws 𝐿𝐿ACe right at her. Krista catches him with her whole body, and 𝐸𝑢𝑟A instructs her to take 𝐿𝐿ACe to higher ground. Now that 𝐂𝐿NEST's hands are free, he's ready to face the beast. Krista really wished 𝐿𝐿ACe would walk on his own, but he begs her to be nice. 𝐂𝐿NEST is ready to fight, but knows it won't be easy, so he asks 𝐸𝑢𝑟A where her orders are. She says protecting 𝐿𝐿ACe is their goal, so 𝐂𝐿NEST is responsible for attracting the monster's attention. When 𝐿𝐿ACe is safe, it will be up to 𝐿𝐴LIC to finish off the boss. Krista soon signals to the others that they've reached higher ground, so the real battle begins. 𝐸𝑢𝑟A gives 𝐂𝐿NEST a bunch of boosts, including strength, endurance, and speed. There are also about 6 others, so 𝐂𝐿NEST runs straight for the boss. A quick dodge allows 𝐂𝐿NEST to close the distance between them, and he stabs his lance into his face. That only enrages the floor boss, however. It throws 𝐂𝐿NEST to the ground, and 𝐸𝑢𝑟A runs to rescue him from being crushed. She says she's counting on 𝐿𝐴LIC now. Nearby, 𝐿𝐿ACe realizes there's someone in their group he doesn't recognize. Their group is called Lasting Period, and they were well known at the academy, so 𝐿𝐿ACe wonders if the 4th member has finally returned. Meanwhile, 𝐿𝐴LIC is masterfully casting spells around the beast. 𝐿𝐿ACe is impressed because being able to cast 3 spells at once makes you a good mage, but casting 5 makes you a genius. 𝐿𝐿ACe can't believe what he's seeing, but Krista reveals that 𝐿𝐴LIC can actually cast much more than just 5 spells at once. 𝐿𝐴LIC continues forming spells as if he's conducting a beautiful symphony of destruction, and 𝐿𝐿ACe loses count of how many spells he's cast. There are at least 20, but 𝐿𝐿ACe can't understand how that could be possible. 𝐂𝐿NEST isn't done either, as he condemns the beast for underestimating him. He distracts the monster from going after 𝐿𝐴LIC, and tells it to regret ever doubting him. 𝐂𝐿NEST says he can do that in the afterlife, and he gets himself to safety. The timing is perfect, as 𝐿𝐴LIC is ready, and he finally releases the full fury of his lightning spells. He calls it lightning acceleration, and 𝐿𝐿ACe's jaw drops in astonishment as he watches the beast be consumed by 𝐿𝐴LIC's attack. The spell covers the beast completely, and 𝐿𝐴LIC declares that it's time for his grand finale. 𝐿𝐴LIC is shocked when the monster shows what a true level boss is like, as it manages to evade 𝐿𝐴LIC's final blow. It prepares a terrifying counterattack, so 𝐂𝐿NEST urgently tells Krista to immobilize it. Krista doesn't need him to say it, as she's already launching her Rain of Arrows attack that sends thousands of arrows straight at the beast, and 𝐸𝑢𝑟A uses a binding spell to finally trap the monster. 𝐂𝐿NEST says there's no escape now, and he joins the attack by striking it with his lance. 𝐿𝐴LIC finishes it all with his 4-direction seal, but the beast simply refuses to give up. The powerful monster has withstood everything they've thrown at it, and once again prepares its attack. 𝐿𝐴LIC admits the beast is quite calm considering the situation it's in, but he explains that the attack it's preparing is the worst thing it could use against him. That's because 𝐿𝐿ACe taught him a very special spell many years ago. Only 2 people in the Academy's history could use it, and one of them was 𝐿𝐿ACe, the genius who created it. The other person is 𝐿𝐴LIC. The beast finally releases the attack, but 𝐿𝐴LIC uses the incredibly rare spell called Reflect. That sends the monster's lightning back at it and causes a massive explosion that lights up the sky and pushes everyone back. The beast shows that bosses on such deep levels of a dungeon are terrifyingly strong, as it still refuses to fall. Even wounded, it still prepares to attack again, but 𝐿𝐴LIC says he's not done either. This time he'll reduce every piece of the monster to ashes. So he releases his Helios spell from the magic circles he placed earlier. This is one of his fiercest attacks we've seen, as it engulfs the beast in flames. It makes a last-ditch effort to try to crush 𝐿𝐴LIC, but 𝐿𝐴LIC reveals that he has another wild beast to give it. He's talking about 𝐂𝐿NEST, who has already ascended to the skies. 𝐂𝐿NEST instructs his lance to pierce and cut, and his attack splits the beast's face in 2. 𝐸𝑢𝑟A celebrates the victory, but 𝐂𝐿NEST doesn't like being called a wild beast. It's just friendly teasing though. As 𝐿𝐴LIC explains, it's his way of cheering for 𝐂𝐿NEST. The girls join them, and Krista gives a healing potion to 𝐂𝐿NEST, whom she calls Mr. 4th Place. Everyone has a good laugh at his expense. 𝐿𝐴LIC arrives to congratulate the legendary Lasting Period group. He knows quite a bit about them, so of course he knows who 𝐿𝐴LIC is, and that he's a court mage. He's the legendary student who defeated a Hydra, but some people say it's not true. 𝐿𝐴LIC though believes it and is a fan of 𝐿𝐴LIC. 𝐿𝐴LIC explains that he's no longer a court mage, so 𝐿𝐴LIC says the royal court of Galdana is very stupid for letting him go. 𝐿𝐴LIC promises to repay the help, but 𝐸𝑢𝑟A just wants them to be more careful from now on. 𝐿𝐴LIC asks if he can have more healing potions, because he gave all his to the other people in his group. In fact, they're probably using them now as they fight the hardest floor boss. Of course, that shocks our heroes. themselves, as they thought they just defeated the floor boss. Locke explains that this monster they just defeated was definitely a floor boss, but there's another. Locke's job was to lure away the lower one. Arista says Locke is only good for drawing aggro, but he likes being teased. He tries to flirt with her, but Ornis calms him down with a healing potion. Locke sarcastically thanks Ornis for trying to help him heal, so the two start arguing, and Yura explains that the two are always like that, but Krista doesn't want them to waste time. Locke gets back to business and explains that the real boss is an undead, just like the first one. It's a knight dressed from head to toe in black armor, and there may not even be anything inside. It's not a skeleton, and the full armor is most likely the monster itself. Physical attacks won't do much more than delay it, so Locke has a special present for Alec. Locke realizes that Alec knows how to handle a weapon well because he likes to get very close to the enemy, like a frontline fighter. He says Alec is surprisingly skilled at making the enemy think he's the biggest threat, but also the easiest to defeat. Alec is impressed that Locke managed to learn so much about him in just one fight, and he tells Locke that he has a sharp eye. Locke points out that he's a support mage, so reading the battlefield is a big part of his job. As for the present, it's an artifact. He explains that they won't be able to fight bosses on deeper floors without one. The artifact transforms into its true form, and Locke reveals that its name is Schwart. It belongs to Alec now, and Locke explains that Schwart means the divider of heaven and earth. Giving such a powerful gift to Alec makes Ornis suspicious, so he assumes there's a price to pay, and Yura reveals that she's already figured out what he's doing. For some reason, Locke is trying to convert Alec into a true frontline fighter. Locke is impressed with Yura's brilliant deduction skills, and he reveals that he'd rather Alec not use any magic at all. If he doesn't use it, then he can keep the weapon. Krista is confused, so Locke reminds them that they'll be fighting a bodiless undead boss, and physical attacks do nothing against it. Magic is the only thing that can defeat it, so she assumes Locke is just an idiot for not wanting Alec to use magic. Locke explains that he just can't help himself. He loves things like lies, deception, and traps, and inhuman tactics are what he does. This guy speaks in riddles because he's not yet ready to reveal his true plan. He says you have to deceive your allies before you can deceive the enemy. He has a plan, and it's a way for them to use a surprise attack right in front of the enemy. Back in the royal dungeon, we see that the prince is running for his life. He blames Len for not using defensive magic, and she fails when she tries and explains that her magic isn't working. The prince decides that he'll have to fight alone, but he's simply destroyed. They retreat, and the prince can only think about how his sword has felt so heavy in his hands lately. His defense is also much weaker than it used to be, and the prince realizes that all this weakness started shortly after he fired Alec. Instead of realizing that Alec made him stronger, the prince accuses Alec of casting a curse on him to get revenge. A mage named Volgon examines the prince and reveals that he's not cursed. The prince refuses to believe it and says it must be a curse because he hasn't been able to get past the 30th floor of the dungeon. Volgon explains that the 30th floor is very unique because magic doesn't work there, and the prince probably felt weaker because the support magic he's used to wasn't working. Volgon points out that Alec should have warned them about the 30th floor because he was part of the legendary group that reached the 68th floor. The prince calls that story a myth and declares that he'll make Alec pay for cursing him. The prince is satisfied to hear that the king wants to speak with him because he assumes it has to do with Alec's punishment. That's not the case, however, as the king wants to talk about a man named 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐿. He explains that 𝐂𝐿𝐴𝐿 was a complete fool because he dared to tell the king that he needed to change the way court mages were treated. He warned that something terrible would happen to 𝐂𝐿Dana if the mistreatment continued, but the king banished him for it. The prince and the king agreed that he deserved to be banished because no one has the right to speak to royalty like that. Unfortunately, the king reveals that there's more to the story. After 𝐂𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐴 was stripped of his position and family name, he attended the Magic Academy as a commoner. 𝐂𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐴𝐿 then managed to silence his critics with his immense skill. Under a new name, 𝐂𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐴𝐿 managed to return to the king as a court mage, but he continued warning about the same thing. The king laughs at the fool 𝐂𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐴𝐿 for trying so hard, and he declares that no one can tell him how to rule his nation. A flashback shows 𝐂𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐴𝐿 trying to tell the king that commoners aren't useless. He knew this firsthand because his life was saved by one. The king still considers him a fool, even after he disappeared several years ago, but for some reason he's been thinking about those words lately. The king asks if the prince knows why he sent him to the dungeon, so the prince replies that it was because he wanted him to gain the glory of breaking the floor record. That's wrong, however, as the king reveals that it was a test to see if he needs to change how things work in the kingdom. Just as 𝐂𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐴𝐿 said, the prince failed the test, so the king has decided that it's time to change how he rules the kingdom. From now on, talented people will be valued regardless of their status, and that includes commoners. They will no longer discriminate against commoners, and the king uses Alec as the perfect example of a talented mage. The prince is horrified because he never thought this day would come, and he can't even imagine a world where they'd have to rely on the help of commoners. The prince points out that the king was the one who taught him to think that way, but the king explains that he's now decided to heed the warnings of the fool 𝐂𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐴𝐿. The prince still refuses to accept this and uses himself as an example of how commoners are harmful. powerful. He worked alongside a commoner, and that only resulted in him being cursed. Unfortunately for him, the king knows the truth. It turns out that someone actually brought to his attention the message Alec was trying to send to the king. It was an extremely detailed guide on how to get past the 30th floor of the dungeon. Written in the message are the characteristics of the monsters there, the terrain, necessary items, and even all the skills one must master to clear the floor. It contains practically everything, and the king observes that only someone who has cleared the floor many times could write something so detailed. The prince starts to lose his mind upon hearing this, so he apologizes and excuses himself. His mind sinks into madness, and he begins to think that Alec wasn't useless, but rather that he himself was the useless one. The prince presumes that he was so useless that Alec didn't even bother to give him the guide, taking it straight to the king instead. That makes him hate Alec even more, as he now thinks Alec was just messing with his head. His hatred has reached its peak, so he tells 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 that he needs his help with something. Back with Alec, 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 reiterates that he doesn't want Alec to use magic against the next boss. 𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 points out that 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 can't just give them orders, so 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 finally reveals his plan. He wants them to trick the monster into thinking Alec is a frontline fighter. Once it lets its guard down, Alec can use his magic. They need to do this because the next boss is very intelligent and also a master of the blade. Alec agrees to wait for 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆's signal before using magic, so 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 turns his attention to Krista. He needs her help with the spell, but Krista hates this guy. They have no choice, however, because this floor of the dungeon is enormous. They'll have to teleport to the next location, but that requires a lot of magical power. The others are shocked because teleportation is an ultra-secret spell that only national governments know how to use. 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 reveals that he stole information to learn how to use it, but he assures everyone that it's only illegal if he gets caught. He says they're all in this together, but Alec plans to blame everything on the terrible 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 if they get in trouble. While they prepare the spell, Alec wonders if they can trust 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆, and 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 isn't sure if she can trust him, but she knows they can count on him. That confuses Alec, so she explains that a few years ago, 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 led a group on an extremely dangerous mission, and they came back without a single casualty thanks to him. Alec is happy to hear that, so he decides to train with 𝒏𝒐𝒆 to practice his swordsmanship before the big battle. The two joke about who will win, and 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 is impressed to see how close they are. Krista explains that it's because his group has known each other for many years. She assumes it's the same with 𝒏𝒄𝒄's Rakroma group, as he sacrificed himself for his friends by facing a dungeon boss alone. 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 offers to teach Krista many more things after seeing how good she is with the teleportation spell, but she just shuts him up. Their battle will begin as soon as they teleport, so 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 gives a boost to her teammates. The group comments that there's nothing like the feeling you get before a boss fight. 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 can't help but admire how this is the perfect group, but he taunts 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 for being the only one who isn't a genius. After some light teasing, the group teleports to the location where they immediately encounter a boss. A look into the past shows that the Rakroma group failed to defeat the boss, and they realized it was nearly impossible to escape from it. They wished they'd escaped when they had the chance, but they decided that Krista was the only one who could run away. She was instructed to ask Levi for help, and to request that they find someone of A rank or higher. They've been fighting all this time, but now they're at their limit. Fortunately, 𝒏𝒐𝒆 springs into action to attract the boss's attention. 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 acknowledges how strong this empty armor is, but reveals that he has help. Alec joins the battle, but is shocked when his surprise attack is somehow deflected. The two face the monster on equal footing, and 𝒏𝒄𝒄 takes his friends to a safe place. It's clear that this monster is truly an empty armor, but that means they don't need to hold back. 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 has learned some of the beast's fighting patterns, so he manages to immobilize it, and Alec follows up with a powerful strike. His attack knocks its head off, so 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 asks if they really just won the fight. Unfortunately, that's not the case, as the boss is still alive. Things only get more terrifying when the beast has something coming out of it, and our heroes realize it's something called a 𝒣𝒐. It's an undead monster that is both mount and man. The incredibly powerful beast they defeated before was actually just what the knight rode. At that instant, they lose sight of the boss, and it appears from the sky with an attack. It's incredibly powerful now, and 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 is horrified to realize that it was holding back before. 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 refuses to be ignored, so 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 gives him a boost, and their combined attack sends the monster flying through the air. The beast's armor is simply too strong, which shocks Alec because they're both attacking it with artifacts. The beast puts its head back on and lets out a loud roar before attacking again. Its power is only growing, and 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 has to rescue Alec from being smashed against the wall. Alec can't believe this thing can use martial arts, and he thanks 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆. If she'd been just a second slower, Alec is sure he wouldn't be alive now. 𝒏𝒄𝒄 says he needs another 3 minutes before Alec can use magic, but Alec is running out of healing potions. He has no choice but to go back into battle so that 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 can heal. 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 just used his last potion, but their spirits are still high as they joke about who will defeat the boss first. Things get serious for a moment, however, as 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 points out that Alec hasn't been the same since he returned to the group. Something obviously happened while Alec was away, so 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 demands to know the truth. Alec just tells him to focus on the fight, but 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 simply won't give up. He knows Alec is hiding something and points out that he can't help unless he knows the truth. 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 reminds Alec that they fought side by side for years, so it's natural that he wants to help his friend. Alec goes back into the fight and finally reveals everything. He explains that he was trying to repay an old debt to his mentor by changing the way the royal court worked. That's why he left the group in the first place, but he failed to achieve anything. 𝐂𝐸 points out that Alec had good intentions and that he held on for 4 whole years. He endured many hardships because of all the discrimination and never gave up. 𝐂𝐸 says that in his eyes that's very respectable, and his words bring a lot of relief to Alec. Alec sheds a tear just as the monster attacks him, but luckily Locke reveals that the 3 minutes are up. He rejoices knowing that he managed to trick the powerful monster, but everyone is horrified when the boss attacks him in the chest. Locke still laughs like a maniac, however, as it was just an illusion. It was all to lure the beast into his trap, but 𝐂𝐸 can't believe it because Locke told everyone he was out of mana. Locke reminds them that they must deceive their allies before deceiving their enemies, and that's what he meant. The beast was moving too fast for Locke's liking, so he set traps everywhere to slow it down. 𝐂𝐸 runs to hit Locke for deceiving them, but Locke even planned for that. With Krista's help, he set up a teleportation trap on 𝐂𝐸's path to him, so 𝐂𝐸 is teleported straight to the beast. His attack sends the beast flying, and Locke admires how Krista managed to turn the teleportation spell into a trap in such a short time. The girl from Locke's group, named Marble, joins the fight with a powerful strike. The beast dodges, but Marble points out that it always likes to dodge to the left. Locke was the one who noticed that, so they set up an even bigger trap for the beast. The powerful monster has had enough, however, so it goes straight for Locke. Locke isn't afraid as he tells the others to retreat, but this beast shows that it's truly a genius by finding the real Locke who's hiding. Locke uses a magic blade to defend himself, but one of his friends named Ryota is worried because Locke isn't strong enough to fight the boss. Ryota is shocked, however, when Yura shows that she's capable of using 7-fold physical enhancement. That's incredibly rare, and she uses it on Locke, but Ryota fears it won't be enough. Locke has another trick up his sleeve, however, as he had one more trap set up, but this time it was with Yura. It's a 3-point steal, but it's extremely difficult to activate, which makes Ryota wonder who this girl is. Unfortunately, the beast still manages to knock Locke off the bridge, but Locke just tells Alec that the stage has finally been set. This is the exact moment they've been waiting for, so he tells Alec to take all the glory for himself, and Alec replies by telling everyone to leave the rest to him. With a wave of his wand, Alec summons several magic circles. This impresses Locke because the number of spells is even greater than what Alec used on the other floor's boss. Of course, it's not easy to use that much mana, so Alec passes out from exhaustion. Alec's determination is unparalleled, however, so he gets up once more and casts even more spells. Alec covers the sky with magic circles, and Marble is impressed because she can't even see the beast anymore. Alec shouts, lightning acceleration, and lightning bolts rain down on the beast. It screams in agony as it takes massive damage, but 𝐂𝐸 is incredulous when the monster still manages to move somehow. Despite being electrocuted, the monster begins to break some of its chains, and Yura realizes that her 3-point steal won't hold up much longer. Things aren't good, so Yura begs Alec to end the fight right now. Alec struggles to remember to keep drawing circles in his mind to cast even more spells, but he's extremely exhausted. He's on the verge of passing out, and Locke says it's understandable. This is the second time in just one day that Alec is using acceleration, and any normal person would have passed out after the first. The sudden mana drain is proving too much, and Locke predicts that Alec's body will fail soon. He points out that no matter how much of a genius Alec is, he'll still have his limits. Alec thinks about how he was banished as a court mage. It was a terrible failure, but Alec also thinks about how all his friends still believed in him. Even in his worst moment, there were still people who sought him out and gave him a chance. These are all his closest friends, so Alec can't let them down. Alec pushes past his limits once more and releases an even crazier spell. Everyone is stunned, but Alec's friends know that this is the real Alec. Alec's attack summons a giant energy dragon, and he declares that this will be his final attack. Yura reaches her limit, so the seal begins to disappear, and the beast frees itself. Alec is ready, however, so he instructs the dragon to devour its enemy. The beast tries to attack, but the dragon is too powerful, and it easily crushes the floor boss into pieces. Alec is victorious, but he passes out from exhaustion. It's not all bad though, as he thinks about how having people depend on him is really good. Yura points out that their life isn't just about that, however, because all they really do is go to a dungeon and have a lot of fun adventuring. 𝐂𝐸 is happy to see that the old Alec is back, but Krista says he could have done even more. 𝐂𝐸 points out that he's actually the winner of their little bet, because it was a bet to see who would fall first. Alec was the one who passed out, but 𝐂𝐸 promises to have mercy on him when deciding Alec's punishment for the loss. After thinking a bit, 𝐂𝐸 decides what he wants. He decides that Alec can no longer hide things from them like he did 4 years ago. He points out that if something is bothering Alec, he has 3 good friends he can talk to. 𝐂𝐸 declares that this is Alec's punishment for losing, but Alec says he's being too easy on him. Ornest offers to choose something much worse, but Alec agrees to never hide anything from them. Locke tries to celebrate with the ladies, but pays the price for his terrible hand placement. The leader of the Rakroma group introduces himself as Rewell, and Marble thanks Alec. Yura is horrified to see that, and Marble even invites Alec to tackle another dungeon together. Yura gets furious, however, and reminds her that Alec is her group's mage. Locke, meanwhile, points out that he's never seen anyone use as many spells as Alec, and if it weren't for Alec's group, they would have lost their lives. Locke thanks Alec for everything, and Alec thanks Locke in return because he really enjoyed executing his plan. Ornest and Krista taunt Locke because the help they gave means Locke now owes them something. Locke has no choice but to agree to that, but he points out that the two only agree when they're ganging up on him. Locke presumes that Alec wants a recommendation, but he says that's asking for something really difficult. Alec doesn't even know what kind of recommendation he's talking about, so Rewell clarifies that he's talking about a recommendation for an S-rank promotion. To go from A rank to S rank, a person would need a recommendation from an S-rank group and the guildmaster's approval. Rewell declares that he'll take care of it. Krista is sure of it because Rewell is much more reliable than Locke. Locke is very offended by that, so he tells Rewell to back him up. But Rewell knows better than anyone that Locke can't be trusted. No one is on Locke's side, and everyone has a good laugh about it. Alec recovers the magic gem left by the dungeon boss, and he shakes hands with Rewell before they part. He says Alec has a great group, and that's no surprise to Rewell, who declares that they're the legendary group at the guild. Misha is impressed to learn that they defeated the 64th floor boss. The whole guild has been talking about Alec for days, and he's becoming very popular. The guildmaster didn't even get to the fight before Alec defeated the boss, so Alec's group is getting all the mission money. Misha is sure the mission was really difficult, and Alec can't deny it because the dungeon is huge and changes layout all the time. Alec then bumps into Levi, who tells him that he has a visitor. It's someone from his past, which means they're from Galdana. Alec greets Volgon, but Volgon gets straight to the point. He demands to know if Alec was trying to kill the prince, and that question shocks our hero. Volgon is upset because he wants to know why Alec didn't tell the prince that he was too weak to go that far in the dungeon. Alec points out that Volgon knows him well, so he should already know that his intention wasn't to end the prince's life. He explains that the prince simply wouldn't have listened to a word he said, so he tried to speak to the king instead. Alec doesn't want anything bad for the prince, and he's even thought about the mage the king recruited to replace him. Alec is worried that the replacement isn't doing a good job, but Volgon is irritated by the whole situation. He says that being a mage in the prince's group is a huge waste of time because the job is really just being a babysitter for a spoiled brat. Alec is shocked to learn that the prince tried to tackle the 30th floor and was seriously injured. He's fully recovered, but Volgon still planned to reprimand him about it. Unfortunately, the prince wanted to train with Volgon instead, which Volgon says is even worse. The most irritating part, however, is that the prince ordered Volgon to escort him to the city. Alec is stunned because that means the prince is here now, and Volgon warns that the prince still has something against Alec. Ooh, the prince is waiting for Alec in the underground arena, and Alec is actually happy because he also has some words for the prince. He wants to finally put the past behind him, so Alec heads underground. Volgon warns that the prince has a lot of pride, so Alec points out that that's just part of being a noble. Volgon calls having that much pride a waste of time, but Alec points out that Volgon is also a noble. Volgon doesn't care about any of that, however, as he explains that he just lives his life the way he wants. When they arrive, we see that Regulus is waiting for him and is pleased to see that Alec accepted his invitation. He's furious, however, as he explains that the king wants to change how the kingdom is governed. Regulus had to give in to his father's decision, but he refuses to compromise his own beliefs. Working with commoners goes against everything he's been taught because commoners aren't nearly as capable as those born as the chosen elite. Regulus can't understand why his father is treating him like this now, and he starts to wonder if his entire 15 years of life have been a lie. He refuses to accept this, and he tells Alec that someone like him could never understand how he feels. Regulus has completely lost control of his emotions, and Alec agrees that he doesn't understand the young prince, nor how he feels, nor why he refuses to accept the truth. All Alec can tell him is that his mindset is wrong, but that only irritates the prince further. He can't admit that he's wrong, and Alec points out that Regulus never listened to a word he said anyway. If Regulus had listened to him, things would be different now, but the prince still isn't interested in hearing nonsense. He points out that Alec will always be a useless commoner, so he can never tell the prince what to do. Alec realizes this is going nowhere, and the prince finally finds something to agree on. Talking isn't doing any good, and Regulus declares that he's not going to change anything about himself. He says he doesn't need to, and challenges Alec to a fight. He reminds Volgon to keep his promise, and reveals the true purpose of them coming here. Regulus plans to prove to his father that the change he seeks is unnecessary. He'll prove it with his own hands by defeating Alec, and Volgon is here as a witness. Regulus makes the first move, but our hero is prepared. He's surprised, however, by the prince using dual blades, but Regulus can't understand why. His daggers are artifacts, and he's sure Alec has seen artifacts before. The reason Alec is surprised, however, has to do with their past. Alec actually told the prince before that the weapon he was using was too difficult for him to use, and Alec wanted him to change it. Alec explained that the long sword was too heavy for the young prince because he was still growing. He suggested that Regulus switch to wielding 2 small daggers because they would be easier and more suited to the prince's needs. The prince didn't seem to listen back then, but now he's wielding dual blades. Unfortunately, Regulus isn't the great fighter he thinks he is, and he ends up falling flat on his face. Alec determines that this whole duel was 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆's idea, so Alec demands to know what he told the prince. 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 explains that he told the prince that if he wanted to refute Alec's strength, then he should first see it for himself. If he insists on refuting Alec's power against all opposition, then he must do it alone as the crown prince. The prince's emotions are out of control, and Alec points out that he's still as stubborn as ever. Regulus attacks once more, but can't land a single hit. 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 says he doesn't respect idiots who only talk. However, idiots who actually act are acceptable to him. Because of that, 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 taught Regulus how to fight with blades against Alec. Regulus manages to demonstrate some of that training, and a powerful attack breaks Alec's shield. Alec isn't fazed, however, and Regulus reveals that he actually finally understood something. The only reason he fought so well when they were in the same group was because of Alec's support magic. That's why he survived so many dangerous situations and managed to go so far in the dungeon. Alec simply reminds him that the king ordered him to protect the prince, and that's exactly what he did. Regulus reveals that after firing Alec, he kept trying to clear the 30th floor of that dungeon. However, every time he was seriously injured and forced to retreat. Alec is shocked when Regulus says they found the letter Alec tried to give the king. Regulus was furious after reading it because Alec was right about absolutely everything. The report was incredibly detailed and simply perfect. There wasn't a single flaw, and Alec thought of everything when he wrote it. He even took into account the prince's personality and all the actions he would likely take. This made it clear to Regulus that Alec was a true genius, but that only made things worse. Regulus's mind simply can't accept that, so he says that Alec is the real problem. The only way for things to make sense again is for the prince to defeat Alec in battle and put him in his proper place. His victory must be earned, however, so he demands that Alec use his artifact to fight as well. Regulus calls him a useless commoner once more, so Alec realizes that he's not going to back down, and he draws his weapon. Alec realizes that Regulus is already aware of his powers, so he makes sure that this fight is really what the prince wants. Regulus is caught off guard when the reality of Alec's power begins to manifest, and Alec has only one last question. He wants to know how the king came to his decision about changing the kingdom. Regulus reveals that his father wanted to test the strength of commoners, so he sent them together to the dungeon in the first place. Regulus is also upset about that, as he points out that the king used them both. They were just an experiment before his father made his final decision. The king being open to the idea of change makes sense to Alec, because the king was the only one in the court who treated him like a person. Regulus assumes that Alec is furious about being used, just like him, but the prince is shocked when Alec reveals that it's the opposite. Alec thought he wasted those 4 years of his life trying to change the court, but now he realizes that those years had much more value than he could have imagined. The change is actually happening, and for him, that's the best reward possible. It's time for the battle, so Alec prepares. A power begins to surge from his entire body, and that even catches 𝒏𝒂𝒊𝒆's attention. The prince starts shaking with fear, but it's too late to do anything about it. Alec attacks him, and Regulus only now realizes that he's no match for Alec. Alec deals massive damage, but 𝒏𝒂𝒊𝒆 is shocked to see that our hero spared the young prince's life. His attack left a giant cut in the ground, but Regulus can only wonder why Alec didn't hit him. He assumes it's sympathy, so Regulus reminds Alec of all the terrible things he did to him. He insulted Alec all the time, and ignored him whenever he tried to say something. The prince desperately wants Alec to hate him, but Alec is completely unperturbed. With nothing left, Regulus crumbles and begins to question himself. The prince wonders who he is, and realizes now that he forgot the answer to that question long ago. He's become a completely different person, and he doesn't even know what to do now. He no longer knows the difference between right and wrong, so he starts crying. Regulus believed in himself for a long time, but that only led him to this moment. He was sure he was right in his beliefs, but his entire world is crumbling because of them. Regulus wouldn't care if Alec ended his life because he thought that would make his father reconsider his decision. That was the only way Regulus thought he could be right about everything, but nothing is working. Now, even a commoner is looking at him with pity, so he demands that Alec give him the answers to all his questions. He begs Alec to tell him who he is and what to do now. Of course, Alec can't answer those questions for him, and he can only laugh. He doesn't laugh as an insult, but more because it's funny how things happen sometimes. Alec came here to scold the prince, and he was even ready to fight him. He was sure they'd be cursing and swearing at each other the whole time. Alec admits being quite angry before the fight, but for some reason, the prince somehow ended up asking him for life advice. Alec lightens the mood by pointing out that life is funny sometimes, and he's shocked when the prince manages to humble himself to apologize to Alec. He apologizes angrily again and wonders if Alec is satisfied now, but Alec just says he wasn't being sarcastic or anything. He admits that he doesn't really understand anything either, but the prince doesn't know what he means. Alec explains that people have helped him his whole life, but who he is or what he should do next. Alec still can't answer those questions for himself. However, he knows that these aren't questions for other people to answer. Alec suggests that the prince should find those answers and decide for himself. Alec offers him a hand, but Regulus refuses at the last moment. He's calmed down after losing his emotions and says he doesn't know why he was talking to Alec in the first place. The prince returns Alec's robe that he tore off his back when he fired him, and he admits that it wasn't right. Additionally, 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 reveals that the king has sent something to Alec. Regulus explains that it's a message saying that the king is keeping the court mage position open for Alec. It's open for him, so Alec can only wonder if the king is ordering him to accept. 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 explains that it's just a request, but Alec is still hesitant. Regulus is shocked when Alec refuses both the robe and the letter. Alec simply explains that his new group has a rule against leaving, so there's no way he can go back to being a court mage. More importantly, Alec says he just doesn't want to. Alec also has a message for the king, and he tells 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 to pass it along to him. He says that many bad things happened in those 4 years, but he still thanks the king for everything. Regulus still returns Alec's robe and simply walks away. He calls Alec a fool for rejecting the king's kindness, but Alec points out that the prince always considered him a fool anyway. He taunts the prince one last time by reminding him that he's just a useless commoner, and Regulus tells Alec one last time how much he hates him. Alec says he feels the same about the prince, and he's happy that they finally agree on something. The two part ways, but we see that the prince managed to learn something as he laughs while leaving. A while later, Alec asks the members of his group if they're free for the day, and everyone confirms that they're not doing anything. Alec explains that he'd like them to show him around 𝒏𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆, but Ornest interrupts him as he has a terrible stomachache. Alec points out that he doesn't look sick at all, but Krista is the next to interrupt him as she remembers she has something important to do. She pretends to have a lot of things to do, so Krista and Ornest tell Alec to just go with Yura. After they leave, Yura can only sigh because those two always try to be helpful in the strangest ways. Yura nervously asks if Alec would like to wait for their friends, but Alec is fine with just the two of them. Yura can't believe he wants to be alone with her, so she happily agrees to show him everything there is to see in the city of 𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆. On their trip, Yura explains that 𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 is an adventurer's city. They can find anything in the shops here, but she warns that they have to be careful with shady merchants. They'll all push their junk onto unsuspecting rookie adventurers. Yura ends up buying a bunch of junk, however, and she marvels at how good the sellers here in the city are. A merchant then offers her a special medicine that allows adventurers to fight for 10 days straight without sleeping. Yura is impressed by this. She's never heard of such a thing, but Alec is disappointed because he knows she's smarter than to fall for such lies. Yura is caught off guard when Alec takes control, and he tells her that they're moving on. Yura was getting distracted by all the shops, so Alec decides that they'll have Ornest and Krista do the shopping for them on another occasion. Yura agrees, but she points out that they've done the shopping before, and it didn't go so well. Instead of buying necessities, Ornest bought a bunch of swords, and Krista bought a giant teddy bear. Yura insisted they return the useless items, but both had reasons why their purchases were important. Ornest said the swords were good for his morale, and Krista just said she didn't buy the teddy bear, she adopted it. Yura complains about how they can't be trusted to do the shopping, but Alec can't help but notice the bag of junk she just bought. Alec is the most responsible, so he decides to do the shopping from now on, and Yura is happy to have him back in the group. As they take a coffee break, Alec wonders why Ornest and Krista don't like 𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 very much. Yura explains that the story goes back to before Ornest had his artifact. Ornest was always careless and sloppy, and when it's time to fight, he likes to swing his weapon around. In reality though, Ornest takes very good care of his weapons, and he's always cleaning and polishing them. Alec remembers this clearly from when they were at the academy. He once wondered why Ornest didn't buy a new weapon instead of cleaning and repairing the old one he had. Then Ornest explained that he valued his weapon very much. As long as it didn't break, he would never replace a weapon to which he'd entrusted his life. Yura explains that 2 years ago, their group encountered a rank group that was having trouble in a certain dungeon. They helped this group, and Locke and Rywell also showed up to help. They then worked together to fight a giant floor boss. Ornest was as powerful as ever, and he even rescued one of the others from being hit by acid. They were victorious, but Ornest was seriously injured trying to protect the adventurer. Alec wonders if he was okay, but Yura says he wasn't. Ornest tried his best to pretend he wasn't hurt, but his legs gave out on the way home. Alec admits that Ornest has a strange kind of pride that doesn't let him show weakness. Yura agrees. Ornest could barely walk, so Locke and Rywell had to carry him back. Yura points out that the story has been pretty normal so far, but this is where things took a turn. While Ornest was passed out, Locke said his weapon was too damaged to be used, and he threw it away. Yura can't believe Locke did that to be an idiot, and she thinks he just got rid of it because it was damaged. Of course, Ornest was really upset about that, and Locke only made things worse with his words. Locke couldn't believe Ornest was so upset about it, and he declared that weapons are disposable. Ornest was very offended by that statement, and everything went downhill from there. Yura thinks that if Locke had just kept his mouth shut, then everything would have been fine. But Locke's mouth is always getting him into trouble. Plus, Locke always plans things, but Ornus never does. Locke avoids problems beforehand, but Ornus just relies on his animal instincts to get out of trouble. They're complete opposites, and Yura thinks those two will never get along. They've just been getting more and more irritated with each other, and Yura finds that really silly. As for Krista, she thinks Locke is the type who always brings trouble. Plus, he's incredibly annoying, and she can't stand being around him. As they continue their trip, Alec remembers how they all used to go shopping together at the academy. They would all pool their money to buy potions. That reminds Yura of something. She explains that Krista used to try to make her own potions, and she failed every time. The two have a good laugh at their friend's expense, and they move on. A while later, Yura is impressed to find a hairpin for sale. It's a rare item that increases a mage's magical power. Yura has been looking for one for a long time, but this thing costs 50,000, which is a bit out of her budget. If she doesn't buy it now, then she may never find another. She just can't afford it, so she'll have to leave the hairpin. But Alec shocks her by simply buying it for her. Yura wonders if it's really okay, so Alec explains that it's a necessity. He says that Yura's magic is what keeps their group fighting, and Yura promises to treasure the gift forever. Their little journey lasts for hours, and in the end, the two enjoy a beautiful view. Alec loves how Fizzle feels free and alive because it's nothing like Galdana. Alec really likes being here, as it makes him feel like he's truly an adventurer. Yura wonders if it would be okay if she asked her question again. In Galdana, she invited him to rejoin their group, but she feels like she took advantage of the fact that he'd just been banished from court. Yura feels really guilty about that, because sometimes she thinks he's not where he really wants to be. Alec interrupts her before she starts crying, and he admits that there was more he wanted to do in Galdana. However, he says that doesn't matter anymore. Now, he really likes Ornus' idea of aiming to become the strongest. Alec declares that the most important thing is that the four of them do it together, and that brings tears of joy to Yura's eyes. Yura reminds him that they don't let group members give up, and Alec is well aware. Yura is happy again, and she proclaims that they can't be the true lasting period without the four of them together. Yura promises to make Ornus and Krista chase Alec to the end of the world if he forgets that, and Alec promises he won't. Alec is the type to keep things to himself, so Yura is relieved to hear him say such reassuring things. Alec then gets very serious, as he tells Yura that he wants her to know his true feelings. Yura is shocked at first, but this is her dream coming true, so she prepares for his kiss. Unfortunately, that's not it at all, as Alec only wanted to explain why he's being more open. Alec points out that he lost his bet with Ornus in the last battle, and as his punishment, he's not allowed to keep things to himself anymore. Yura is incredibly disappointed, but Alec has never been so serious. He declares that it wasn't just a game, it was a bet between two men. Alec apologizes for being so serious with her, but Yura is upset for a very different reason. The next morning, Ornus wakes Alec, and he can't believe that Alec stayed up all night studying again. That's all Alec has been doing lately, so Ornus instructs him to wash his face and get changed. He declares that adventure days start early, and Alec is shocked by how much energy Ornus always has in the mornings. Their day begins as usual, and that's with a sparring session. The two really go at it, and Yura can't understand how the two never get tired of fighting all the time. She tells them that it's too early to fight so hard, but Ornus points out that melee combat weapons are made to fight hard. Alec reminds them that they all have 4 years of real combat experience more than him, so he needs to do everything in his power to catch up to them. His battle only intensifies from here, and it only ends when Ornus thinks he has the advantage. He's about to deliver the final blow, but Alec blocks it, and his sword even breaks. Ornus can't understand why Alec thinks he needs to catch up to them because he's a monster now. Yura can't believe what she just saw. Alec was sure he would beat Ornus today, but Ornus declares that he could never beat him in a fight, even if he had another 100 years to try. The guys decide to up the level by fighting with their artifacts, but Yura has to stop them because they're going too far. She refuses to let them hurt themselves during training, so the guys stop. Locke arrives and offers to give them some training because he's an S-rank adventurer. He's simply ignored, however, as Alec reminds his friends that they'll be coordinating for the deeper floors of the dungeon today. Locke gets their attention when he reveals that he just gave his recommendation for them to become an S-rank group. He shows them an S-rank ID, but doesn't let them get a good look at it. Locke only promises to give it to them if Alec praises him for being always right and bows to him. Locke laughs like an evil villain as he taunts them, but that only gets him beaten up by Krista of his group. Rewell is also there, and they apologize for Locke's behavior. They come with a message from the guildmaster and hand it to our group. She reveals that the Rockroma group recommended the Lasting Period group, and the recommendation was approved. That means everyone in Lasting Period has been promoted to S rank, so our heroes celebrate. Krista calls Alec the 5-color Mage, and she explains that S rank groups are allowed to access the Arcane Dungeon. It's a highly difficult dungeon and even more dangerous than the 64th floor dungeon they were on. Rewell offers to answer any questions they have whenever they want, because it's the least they can do after rescuing their group. They promise to drop everything and come running if they need help, so Alec thanks them. Locke wants everyone to eat together to celebrate, but the girls don't like how close he's standing. They, however, accept his offer and tell the others that Locke is going to pay for a giant, cheap celebration banquet for everyone. Locke tries to cancel after the guys point out that they like to eat a lot when celebrating, but it's too late, and Locke is dragged away. The two groups then celebrate together, and Ornest refuses to let Krista drink more than him. He finishes his drink and tells the waiter to bring the whole barrel. Alec marvels at the fact that they're all really S rank now, and Ornest hopes that he's instilled doubts about whether he really belongs here. Ornest knows his friend well, so he knows that Alec doesn't think he can be S rank because he really didn't do anything. Ornest refuses to let him continue thinking that way, so he threatens to hit Alec if he does. He reminds everyone that this is just the beginning of their journey, and their legend is just starting. If anyone is stuck thinking about things, then he promises to beat it out of them by force. Everyone is on the same page now, so everyone makes a toast to them being S rank. The guys ask for the most expensive alcohol in the place, so Locke begs them to be kinder to his wallet. After the party, Alec has to carry Yura, who got completely drunk. Krista explains that Yura was very happy, but not just about the promotion. She was also glad that Alec chose them instead of the king. Alec didn't think it was a big deal, but for Ornest it was, as he was impressed that Alec resolved so much without the rest of them being there. Ornest declares that if he'd been there, he would have broken every bone in the prince's body. Just then, Micha urgently tells Krista that she needs healing. Krista goes to help, and Micha explains that there are many injured for the guild's healers to handle alone. Micha offers to pay Krista, but Krista says she can wait until they finish their next job. More importantly, she wants to know why so many people got hurt. She assumes they were on a big raid, but Micha reveals that these men weren't injured by monsters. Micha is surprised that Krista hasn't heard of it, and reveals that these adventurers were injured by other people. A group of criminals has been attacking adventurers, and they're called the Shadow Guild. Levi then reveals that there are even more injured. The infirmary was full, so he had to bring a girl to his room, and she's in terrible condition. Her name is Olivia from the Nameless team, and she was alone when she was attacked by the Shadow Guild. Levi lets Krista heal her, and Krista is shocked by the girl's injuries. She has blade cuts all over her body, so Krista determines that she was attacked by a swordsman. Olivia can barely breathe, so Krista realizes that she'll probably spend the whole night healing her. At that moment, Olivia wakes up and demands to know where she is. Krista explains everything and asks if she remembers what happened. Olivia freaks out when the memories return and gets furious at someone for being a traitor. She swears revenge, but Krista has to warn her to calm down because her body can't handle stress right now. Olivia just tells Krista to hurry up and heal her injuries because there's something she desperately needs to do. Olivia is very serious about this, but Krista casually dismisses her idea. She explains that Olivia will only make things worse if she tries to do anything with her injuries, so she'll have to wait. Olivia gets furious as she points out that Krista doesn't know anything about what she's capable of, but even that is too much for her, and she passes out. Krista can finally get to work, but she notices something. Olivia has many recent scars, but is also covered in old ones. That shows how many battles she's survived, and Krista realizes who Olivia is. Olivia of the Nameless is one of the best swordsmen in 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆. She's quite famous in this city for her great achievements, so Krista can only imagine who caused her so much damage. There's no time for questions, however, as Krista has a long night ahead, so she begins the healing process. The next morning, we see that Krista has fallen asleep after hours of work. At the library, Alec is pleased to find a book with records of the arcane dungeon. He thinks about how he's 4 years behind in experience, so the least he can do is make up for it with knowledge. At that moment, Alec is shocked to hear that a boy knows his name, and the boy says Alec was always a good student. Alec didn't notice the boy, though he was sitting there for a while, so he apologizes for being so absorbed in his book. Alec wonders how he can help the boy, but the boy only talks about how the parfaits at the coffee shop next to the library are very good. He loves sweets, and also points out how hungry he is after waiting so long for Alec to notice him. He wonders if Alec understands what he's trying to say, and Alec does. Alec takes him to the coffee shop to enjoy some parfaits and is shocked when the boy orders 5 more. Alec wonders if it's some kind of joke, so he tells the boy to get to the point. The boy introduces himself as Lord and reveals that he's a member of the S-rank team called Nameless. Lord heard that the 4th member of Lasting Period had returned and that they'd reached S-rank. Lord was surprised, so he wanted to see who this 4th member was. Alec wonders what he's learned so far after just one meeting, and Lord says he's learned that Alec is the missing piece, the perfect piece. Alec is shocked because he has no idea what the boy is talking about. So Lord asks Alec if he'd be interested in joining his team for a raid into the Labyrinth dungeon. A while later, Krista goes to check on Olivia and is surprised to find her training again. She's already done 500 practice swings, so Krista tells Levi to be a good guildmaster and stop her. Unfortunately, Olivia doesn't listen to anyone and keeps insisting that she also doesn't want to talk about the Shadow Guild. Krista reminds her that she's injured, so she needs to lie down, and Levi tries to get her to talk about what happened. Olivia refuses to answer any questions and only cares about her own condition. She still can't move her legs properly, so she tells the healer to do her job and fix them. Krista demands that she tell her name, and Levi tells Olivia that she'll have to start cooperating. Olivia says what happened is her problem, and Levi realizes that this woman is really testing his patience. He's caught off guard, however, when Krista says that she's going to treat her patient now, so he'll have to leave. Krista fixes Olivia's legs, but warns her not to do anything stupid so they can heal properly. Olivia is relieved that Krista isn't asking about what happened, and Krista thinks about what Olivia said the night before. Olivia desperately wanted revenge, so Krista decided not to press for information. She's only here to help in whatever way she can, and if she can't help, then she'll find someone who can. Krista likes to keep things simple, and Olivia likes the way she chooses to live her life. At that moment, Krista is surprised when Olivia apologizes. She was cruel to Krista, and Olivia admits that it was her weakness that got her into this mess. Now Krista is being very kind to her, so Olivia promises to repay that kindness one day. She gets very embarrassed, however, when Krista kisses her on the forehead. Krista calls it a type of healing magic and a little charm to help Olivia relax. That reminds Olivia of how she was comforted by her mother as a child, and she says "mommy" out loud. She pretends she didn't say anything, however, and just asks Krista to bring her something to drink. Olivia hasn't eaten anything in over a day, so she has another favor to ask. She'd like some snacks, but after Krista leaves, we see that Olivia really wanted time to do something with Krista's drink. Elsewhere, Alec tells the others about the invitation their team received from Lord. Lord of Nameless wants both teams to enter a dungeon together for a raid. Alec told the boy he'd think about it, and Ornis says he's heard of Lord. Lord looks like a child, but people say he's older than all of Alec's friends combined. Alec can't believe it, so Yura explains that Lord is an elf. Nameless is working on a dungeon called Labyrinth, and Lord gave Alec some details. They'll go to the 72nd floor, which is the second to last floor of the dungeon. The plan is to clear it quickly and get the dungeon core on the last floor. Alec couldn't believe that Lord's team wanted them to join at the end of the raid, and Lord pointed out that it was a great deal for them. The vast majority of the dungeon has already been cleared for them, and Lord even offered to let Alec's team keep the dungeon core if they wanted. Lord explained that his team needed a quick answer because they need to settle a score with someone. That someone is quite dangerous, and Alec was shocked when Lord revealed it was the Shadow Guild. The Shadow Guild hurt one of their friends, so Lord plans to take them down for revenge. Lord has to deal with the Shadow Guild and can't help with the dungeon raid, which is why he asked Alec's team to take his place. Lord then just put the 72nd floor core on the table and left. After Ornis hears the whole story, he finds it very hard to believe. They're going to skip straight to the second to last floor and can still keep the last floor's core. Plus, Nameless will take care of the Shadow Guild at the same time. It's too good to be true in Ornis' sight, so Yura wonders if Lord is trying to trick them. She admits that Lord is a pretty strange guy, but he's also the person who keeps Nameless together and functioning. He's their central member, so she wonders why he would tell such a pointless lie. Ornis declares that they shouldn't waste time thinking when they can just ask someone directly. He heard that Olivia was at the guild, so he thinks they should just interrogate her. Yura reminds him that she's injured, but Ornis is sure that Krista has already finished healing her. On the way, Ornis says that an S rank being defeated by the Shadow Guild is an embarrassment to all S ranks like them. At that instant, they're shocked as Misha urgently tells them that something has happened to Krista. Inside, Krista falls into Alec's arms and everyone is worried about her. Krista reveals that she was drugged and Olivia is gone. She assumes that Olivia went back to the labyrinth, but Ornis can only wonder why they should care. Krista explains that Olivia is still injured and there's no way she can survive in the dungeon in her current condition. Ornis still finds it hard to care, so Krista explains that the Shadow Guild is in the labyrinth, and that makes it even more dangerous. Ornis points out that Olivia is an S-rank swordswoman, so she won't fall for the Shadow Guild's trap twice. And even if she does, that's not their problem. Ornis also says that this behavior isn't like Krista at all, and reminds her to calm down. Krista is still worried, however, because she knows that Olivia is looking for a traitor. The person in the labyrinth isn't just a member of the Shadow Guild, it's someone who can almost end the life of an S-rank swordswoman. Olivia only managed to come back because Krista healed her, so Krista is taking responsibility for this. She'll never be able to forgive herself if Olivia loses her life, so she's already made her decision. This is her problem now, and she'll go alone if she has to. Krista is surprised, however, to find that her friends are also ready to go. Without it thinking twice, they say that if this is Krista's problem, then it's their problem too. Yura can't believe how stubborn all the team members are, and she wishes they'd think about how hard this is for her as a leader. Krista is relieved to see that her friends support her, and even Ornis is on board. He doesn't want it to look like it's for Krista, however, so he says they were going to the labyrinth anyway. Krista teases him to say that again, but Ornis refuses. Our boy Ornis is eager to get into action, so he goes over the plan. They'll clear the last 2 floors of the dungeon and find the missing girl along the way. When they reach the dungeon, Ornis points out how troublesome this will be. There are teleporters everywhere inside, and there's a literal labyrinth. At that instant, everyone is shocked as Mabel appears out of nowhere. She says she just came to see Alec, but quickly takes it back as a joke. Actually, she heard that Olivia had run off and was going back to the dungeon. Marble wanted to stop her, but now it's clear that it's too late. The best thing to do is to accompany Lasting Period's team so she can help in whatever way she can. Lord even invited her to join the raid with them at Nameless. She says she can take Olivia's place in the raid because she's also an S-rank swordswoman. More importantly though, Marble says she's here because she wanted to see more of Alec's huge sophisticated spells. Yura refuses to let her touch Alec, and says the raid will be easier for her team if it's just the 4 of them. They're not like Nameless because they actually care about team dynamics. Ornis explains to Alec that Nameless team members basically act like 4 solo adventurers. Lord brought them together in a team, but each prefers to fight alone. When they're not exploring dungeons, they don't care about each other at all. Marbell also points out that Olivia is the quiet, hysterical type, and Ornis taunts Marble by saying she's the loudest person in the whole guild. Marble ignores his insults, however, and just explains that Olivia is misunderstood for being so hysterical. Everyone assumes she's very mean, but in reality, she's a sweetheart. Marble admired Olivia, and Olivia always wondered why Marble was around. Marble pointed out that Olivia was the best with a sword, so she hoped to get some tips from her. Marble always hoped they could become best friends, but Olivia always reminded her that she preferred to be alone. She only joined Nameless to clear dungeons, so Marble thought they could raid dungeons together. Olivia was surprisingly fine with that, and even showed up whenever they planned to raid a dungeon together. Yura admits that Olivia seems like a nice person, but still refuses to let Marbell go with them. Instead, she tells Marbell to inform the guild master that they've reached the dungeon. Marbell agrees to do so, but she can't shake this terrible feeling she has. She's sure Olivia is suffering now, and knows this because they're close friends. Marble is very worried, so she begs Alec to save Olivia. Alec says she can count on him, so she happily runs back to the guild. Before they enter the dungeon, Ornis gives something to Alec, and says it's a secret weapon. Everyone then looks at Yura to do what she usually does before an adventure. Yura can't believe that everyone expects this of her, so they say they need to be inspired. Yura has no choice but to give in, so she declares that it's time to surprise everyone. They are lasting period, and she hopes these days never end. They enter the 72nd floor of the dungeon, and Ornis wonders what Krista is doing. They don't have time to waste, but Krista tells them to be quiet because she's concentrating. She's setting up the teleportation circle she learned from Locke in advance. That way, even if a trap separates the team, they'll be able to reconnect by going through portals. Ornis is happy to see her using her head again because she was crying like a little girl before. His taunt goes a bit too far, however, so Krista kicks him in the face while pointing out that she wasn't crying. Ornis is knocked out, shocking the others, and he falls into a teleportation trap. Alec goes to rescue him, but ends up falling into a teleportation trap himself. Alec realizes he's in great danger when he finds out he's been teleported to a place full of orcs. They all attack our hero, so Alec has no choice but to use his lightning spell. He easily eliminates some of the monsters, but one manages to sneak up behind him. It's about to attack our hero, but Krista appears to eliminate the beast. She explains that the secret weapon Ornis gave Alec earlier has already proven useful. It's called the Mobius Ring, and it's a magical device that comes in pairs. It limits the distance 2 people can be from each other, so no matter how far they're teleported, they still won't be separated. Everyone expected to be separated in the labyrinth, but Alec didn't think it would happen so soon. Krista wonders if Alec is worried about Yura, and she's disappointed that he's unhappy about being paired with her. Alec gets flustered by the question, but Krista was just teasing him. She knows he's very reliable, so she tells our boy that she's counting on him. Krista assures him that he has nothing to worry about because Yura is with Ornis, and fighting is the only thing he's good for. Krista can't help but notice, however, that this place smells almost unbearable, so she says Alec he couldn't have stepped into a worse trap. The two then show amazing teamwork by taking down another beast. Alec is impressed with Krista's magic blade, so she explains that she's been working hard lately. She couldn't use healing magic on the tank killer floor of the other dungeon, so she's been practicing to become useful outside of healing. They eventually eliminate this horde of monsters, and Krista tells Alec that he's also improved. She correctly assumes that Alec has been secretly using support magic, but she says he can't brag about it until he's as good as Yura. Alec calls that ridiculous, however, pointing out that he'll never be as good a support mage as Yura. At that instant, Alec says the trap he stepped into didn't turn out so bad after all. That's because it brought them to the first sign of Olivia, some of her bandages, which means she must be nearby. Elsewhere, Yura scolds Alec for opening a suspicious-looking door. It was an obvious trap, and now they have to run for their lives. Fortunately, Yura has an idea, and she uses a defensive spell called Earth Wall. This wall safely elevates them above all the monsters, so Yura tells Ornis to take down the biggest beast. Yura is happy to see him in good shape, but she knows that in times like these he tends to burn out because he doesn't think about the consequences. She doesn't want to push him too hard, so she decides to keep physical enhancements to a minimum. The energized Ornis then cuts through the horde of monsters, and he erases the boss from existence. Ornis praises himself for being in such good shape today, and he tells Yura to cast even more support magic on him. Yura scolds him, however, because it's not that easy. She can't just buff him randomly because that would put a huge strain on his body. To avoid accidentally ending his life, she has to buff the ideal body part at the most ideal time with great precision. Ornis ignores that to say he doesn't want any more praise. He thinks Yura should direct all praise to Alec because he still needs to regain his confidence. He remembers, however, that Marble is praising Alec all the time now, so he'll probably be fine. Of course, Yura hates hearing that, but her anger is interrupted by something shocking. The two have found something strange looking, and Yura says it was the floor boss. There's no sign of magic damage, which means someone defeated this terrifying looking floor boss using just a single sword strike. Yura can only wonder wonder who is capable of such a thing, and Ornis explains that there's only one person who could do that. That person's name is 𝐂𝐿, the Blade Master. Nearby, 𝐂𝐿 is praised by a mysterious man for a job well done. 𝐂𝐿 not only destroyed the floor boss, but also took care of the S-rank swordswoman, Olivia. Olivia is so famous that the mysterious guy even knows her name, but she stood no chance against 𝐂𝐿. 𝐂𝐿 explains that he and Olivia know each other, so he knows how she fights. The mysterious man's name is Gloria, and he says the fact that they know each other explains a lot. He saw the horrified look on Olivia's face when she saw 𝐂𝐿, realizing that she couldn't believe who was attacking her. What Gloria doesn't understand is why 𝐂𝐿 works with the Shadow Guild, since he knows an S-rank swordswoman. 𝐂𝐿 explains that he just shares the same goal as the Shadow Guild's leadership. His primary desire, however, is quite different from theirs. 𝐂𝐿 will do whatever it takes to get stronger, as he only cares about reaching the peak of his strength. That means for now, he needs experience to get stronger. The other members of the Shadow Guild arrive and warn their boss Gloria that there are intruders on the 72nd floor. Gloria assumes it's the rest of the nameless group, but they say it could be another group helping them. Gloria instructs his men to eliminate the intruders, and the most insane of them crushes something in his mouth. Elsewhere, Alec and Krista find Olivia injured. Olivia is happy to see Krista because she needs her to heal her wounds with her special healing magic. Krista surprisingly refuses, believing that Olivia will just run away again. Krista declares that she's here to take Olivia back to the guild, so Olivia turns to Alec for help. Of course, Alec doesn't use healing magic, so Olivia calls him useless. Alec explains that Krista isn't taking Olivia back out of hatred. Krista is just trying to keep her safe. He reveals that Krista is always so calm, but was panicking the whole way, worried about Olivia. Krista is embarrassed that he said all that, but Olivia already knows. That's why she didn't want Krista in the dungeon. Olivia is determined to achieve her goal, so she doesn't care if Krista doesn't heal her. She simply tells our heroes not to interfere. She apologizes for not being able to repay her debt to Krista and leaves. Before she goes though, Krista reveals that this is why she hates swordsmen. Olivia's idea of owing her something is silly, and Krista realizes that Olivia doesn't know anything about healers. Krista instructs Alec to stop Olivia from leaving, and explains that she can't just let her do whatever she wants. Krista has now involved all her friends in this situation, so she demands to know why Olivia went back to the labyrinth. Olivia finally reveals that she came here to settle things. Alec assumes she holds a grudge against the Shadow Guild, but Olivia feels insulted. She declares that she would never lose to those idiots, and her revenge has nothing to do with the guild or her group. This problem is hers and hers alone. Krista points out that Marble is too worried about her, and Olivia can't believe that Nosy Kid is involved in all this. Olivia realizes that the naive Krista doesn't seem to understand how Nameless works, so she explains, if you think Nameless likes to be buddy-buddy like your group, then you're very wrong. Nameless is nothing more than a group of people who join the guild for their own reasons. Olivia's greatest wish in life has finally come up, so she's simply going after it. That's all. Krista assumes that this wish has to do with the traitor she mentioned before, and Olivia confirms it. The traitor appeared recently, and Olivia swears to end his life with her own hands. Our heroes are shocked when Olivia reveals how this person lured her. He was her teacher, and he's the man who let Olivia's mother die. Our heroes have their answer, so Olivia prepares to leave. She has only one last thing to say: stay out of her way. Of course, Krista tries to stop her from putting her life in extreme danger, but things take an even crazier turn. Our heroes end up being teleported with her and find themselves in an incredibly dangerous monster nest. Alec immediately charges at the monsters, and Krista takes a moment to heal Olivia. Krista plans to use teleportation to help them escape, but it takes time to prepare the spell. There are also too many monsters for Alec to handle alone, so our heroes will have to rely on Olivia's help. Olivia joins the fight and declares that they'll work together for now to get out of the monster nest. She starts fighting the giant orc, but can't attack its weak points. The beast simply repels her, and Krista is impressed to see Olivia's incredible skills. She annihilates a group of monsters easily, but Alec didn't even see her move. Olivia criticizes our hero, saying he hasn't practiced enough. If he were an S-rank swordsman, enemies of this level wouldn't catch him off guard. Soon, Krista says the teleportation circle is ready, but the spell unravels. She determines that magic cannot be used there, which means there's an anti-magic field in the area. Olivia simply goes back to the fight, and Alec continues to admire her skill. She's a very quiet fighter, and Alec can't help but notice how she's practically the opposite of Ornist. She's cold and sharp as ice, and Olivia truly is an S-rank swordswoman. Alec refuses to let her underestimate him, so he starts eliminating some monsters on his own. Alec manages to impress Olivia, who asks his name. Our hero introduces himself, but Olivia points out that he still hasn't mastered his weapon. She praises him for having incredible talent, but explains that he's not making the most of it. Olivia gives him some advice. Stop trying to overpower the opponent by force. His sword should be treated as part of his body, so he should let it move as it pleases, as if they were one. The monster horde seems endless, so Olivia says it's a waste of energy to fight them all. Instead, Instead, they should find the magic-eating monster that's preventing them from using spells. Alec nods but points out that one of them will have to keep the rest of the monsters away. Alec reluctantly says he'll do that job and attract the monster's attention. Krista finds the magic eater but points out that they'll never reach it with so many monsters in the way. Olivia doesn't waste time and goes straight for it, and Alec calls her reckless for charging ahead. She still annihilates a ton of monsters, and Alec reminds them that he's the target. He gets all their attention, but Krista warns that monsters are coming from above too. Alec must now fight a winged beast, but this thing is very strong. He does his best to repel it, but the beast keeps coming at him. Alec's job is to get their attention, so he makes the monsters chase him. Eventually, he manages to get the flying beast to collide with a giant, but Alec is pushed back by the force of the attack. It turns out the flying beast is actually one of the strongest monsters, as it even tore the giant apart. Alec can't help but be impressed, so he tells the giant bird to bring it on. Olivia, meanwhile, is cutting a path through the monsters, and we see that the magic eater is ringing a bell. It realizes someone is chasing it, but there's no time to react. Olivia immediately drives her blade into its chest. She crushes the magic eater, so Krista finally manages to complete the teleportation spell. Alec is happy to hear they're ready to go, so he uses his quintuple lightning spell on the group of giants. Alec's attack easily kills all the giants, and Olivia realizes that Alec's true power is his magic. Monsters start surrounding Krista, so she tells the others to hurry. Time is running out, so Alec tells Olivia to take his hand, and everyone finally teleports to safety. Olivia can't help but ask Alec why he didn't say he was really a mage and not a swordsman. Alec simply says he forgot to mention it, but Olivia is furious. She wonders what kind of mage runs into a horde of monsters with just a sword, and can't believe how foolish she looked giving him swordsmanship advice. She praised his talent with the sword and told him to be one with it, so now she's completely embarrassed. Olivia still needs to thank him though, because if she'd been alone back there, she wouldn't have survived. Alec thanks her back and says he'll try her suggestions. Alec says what matters is that Olivia is safe, but Krista refuses to agree. She explains that Olivia isn't fit to fight monsters right now, no matter how well she's doing. Healing magic isn't perfect, so if Olivia continues, her wounds will reopen, and she'll only hurt herself further. Krista just wants to know more about Olivia's teacher, who lured her by eliminating her mother. So Olivia explains. She says that when her adventurer mother passed away, she was left alone in this world. That's when Melia took her in and became her teacher. Melia taught her everything about fighting, and it was he who told her to be one with her sword. There were always days when Olivia cried for her mother, but she finally managed to be happy again. Sometimes Melia was like a father to her, and she would cry about her mother in his arms. She came to trust and admire Melia more than anyone in the world. That was until one day when he told her the truth. They were in a dungeon, and Olivia happily demonstrated to Melia how she could easily eliminate monsters. Melia was pleased to see her improvement and acknowledged that Olivia had become stronger than he ever imagined. Unfortunately, that's when things took a dark turn. Melia said it was time and attacked Olivia. He left her near death but kept her alive. Before her life ended, Melia decided to tell her the truth. Olivia couldn't move her body, so Melia whispered in her ear that he was the one who took her mother's life. Olivia was absolutely horrified to hear that from the person she trusted most. It's an absolutely terrible story, as Olivia can barely tell it without being completely consumed by rage. She spent her whole life admiring the man who took her mother's life. She trusted him for years, but he only revealed that it was all a lie and simply left her with a horrible scar on her back. Melia hasn't been seen again since that day, and the scar is all she has left. Olivia says that Melia is more than just a man who took her mother's life. He took everything from her, her trust and her memories. He took it all. All she has now is this scar and nothing more. Olivia is shocked when Alec immediately covers her, and he shares some kind words. He explains that he doesn't care where she learned it. He thought her way of fighting was beautiful. He knows exactly what it's like to feel like you have nothing left. But his companions were the ones who showed him he was wrong. Olivia says she has no companions, but Alec disagrees. Lord said he was looking to settle a score with someone, and Alec believes Lord is trying to avenge her. Krista knew immediately upon seeing Olivia's scarred body at the guild that she'd been through incredible things. Krista explains that magic cannot heal old scars and cannot change the past. Krista also doesn't want to get involved in someone else's revenge plan. However, Krista says that she can heal any wounds Olivia may have from now on. Olivia is touched by their words, so she begins to open up even more. Olivia knew that Lord and Marble were trying to help her, but she exclaims that they don't know who they're up against. They have no idea how scary the Blade Master can be, and Olivia fears that he will take more people from her. Alec recognizes this fear, so he declares that they'll simply put an end to this whole situation. Olivia is caught off guard by his confidence, so Alec explains that they'll fight in place of Lord and Marble. Olivia can't hold back her tears, so Krista assures her that everything will be okay. Elsewhere, we see that Ornest is fed up with the dungeon, traps everywhere, so he can only wonder what's wrong with this place. Yura is quick to point out that 90% of their problems come from Ornest, because he keeps touching random things. Yura is still worried about that floor boss they saw as the one who eliminated is incredibly dangerous. Ornest still believes it was the Blade Master, so he says that if he's still here, he's probably on the last floor. Yura is worried about their friends, but Ornest tells her to calm down. He assumes that Olivia will go after Emilia, but is sure that Alec and Krista won't. Ornest tells Yura to be quiet when he hears something. It's the crazy guy from before, and he continues to eat dungeon cores. This guy is a monster, explaining that the cores they took from the foolish adventurers of 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 are especially delicious. At this, our heroes come out right in front of them, and Yura asks if they were the ones who attacked Olivia. Ornest always assumed the culprits would be crazy, but eating cores is a whole different level of insanity. That crazy guy named Ryota calls himself lucky because the intruders he was looking for have just appeared. He instructs his group to attack them, but they quickly find themselves being defeated by our heroes. Ornest mocks Ryota, pointing out that eating those dungeon cores didn't make him any stronger. Ornest wants to know what they're after, and assumes they want the dungeon core on the last floor. Ryota refuses to give answers, but Yura chokes him with her sealing spell. Ryota has no choice but to give in, so he admits that their boss sent them to steal the last floor's core. Yura wants to know what their relationship is with the Blade Master, so Ryota explains everything. He says Emilia is amazing because he defeated Olivia and the floor boss alone. Ornest points out that these guys aren't the ones in charge, and there are much more dangerous people in this dungeon. He wants to regroup with Alec and the others to go back to the guild, and Yura agrees with him. So Ornest tells the villains that they're going to rot in jail. Ryota just laughs, however, and reminds Ornest of what he said. Ornest told him that eating the cores didn't make him stronger, but he has no idea how wrong he was. Yura then tells Ornest to be quiet when she hears something strange. The whole dungeon begins to shake, and Ryota laughs again. He explains that the answer to what's happening is simple. The fastest way to absorb a dungeon core's power is to eat it. The dungeon starts shaking even more, and a furious power bursts from Ryota's body. This power is incredibly unstable, and even sends Ryota's companions into a dark abyss. Ryota manages to free himself, and he instantly runs to capture Yura. He laughs like a psycho again, calling himself lucky. He was after Yura the whole time, and can't believe he got what he wanted in a place like this. Ornest immediately chases after them, but Ryota isn't afraid, and even encourages Ornest to follow them. He declares that they can go straight to the 73rd floor together. It's the bottom of the dungeon, and there they can have fun while fighting over the core. Elsewhere, Alec tells Olivia his story. He learned the basics of magic as a child after losing his mother to a plague. His father was always busy with work, so magic became his hobby. He told Olivia about his days as a court mage, but she points out that Alec is a better adventurer anyway. They arrive at the spot where they were supposed to meet if they got separated, but Yura and Ornest aren't there. At that, they feel a breeze, and following it reveals a giant hole in the ground. This wasn't here before, so it must be new, but Alec is shocked by something else. In dungeons, walls and floors leading to lower levels are magically reinforced. Whatever broke the ground must be incredibly powerful. Olivia doesn't want to waste any more time, so she goes down. On the way down, she finds a hat, and Alec is horrified to realize it belongs to Yura. Elsewhere, Ryota takes Yura to his boss. Gloria introduces himself to her and apologizes for Ryota's rude behavior. Yura isn't interested in meeting him and demands to know what he wants with her. Gloria explains that while he's a gentleman, he's also not a fool, so he won't tell her his plan. Yura points out that Gloria seems to know a lot about her, so it's only fair that she knows more about him. But Gloria is very intrigued by her and laughs because she's like a little worried animal. He looks forward to seeing how long she can keep up the tough act. But Emilia tells Gloria to stop. Emilia declares that he has no time to waste on stupid games, so Gloria backs off and says he was just joking. Yura immediately senses from his immense presence that this man is the Blade Master. Emilia doesn't say much, but reveals that something is coming. Oh, that person is Ornest, and he comes bursting in to rescue Yura. Ornest instructs his lance to pierce and stab, and he completely crushes Ryota. Gloria, however, blocks his attack, and Ornest is caught off guard by Gloria's use of a mana sword. Gloria instructs Ryota to get up quickly, and Ryota is furious. Ornest came out of nowhere, and Ryota only managed to survive because of the cores he was eating. Ryota realized that Yura is wearing a Mobius ring, which brought Ornest here, so he removes it from her finger. Ornest demands to know why they knew Yura's name and why they're targeting her. Gloria simply ignores him and declares that it's time for them to get to work. Ryota obeys his boss's instructions, so he knocks out Yura and tells Emilia to continue with their plan. Ornest is furious to see this and gives them a warning. If they touch Yura, he'll slice them into pieces and slowly end their lives. Unfortunately, the two guys simply run away, and Ornest is restrained by Gloria. Gloria declares that he's one of the most famous members of the Shadow Guild, so Ornest will have no choice but to fight him. He also tells Ornest not to get any funny ideas about taking him down quickly to rescue Yura. They start fighting, and Ornest immediately realizes that Gloria's weapon isn't an artifact. There's something very strange about it, but it's still no match for his lance. Ornest manages to destroy the blade, and he quickly impales Gloria. Gloria screams in agony as the pain is unbearable, and he tells Ornest that he's really done it now. Gloria begins to shake as he can only watch his own blood spill, and he curses Emilia. He says the useless Blade Master stands around all day and tries to tell him what to do. Gloria starts to lose his mind mind, and his voice even changes as he swears to end everyone's life. However, he quickly stops himself, apologizes, and reminds himself to calm down. His voice returns to normal, and he apologizes once more for not handling stress well. Gloria then takes a deep breath and says, "Profession." He summons this demon and instructs it to devour his blood. He even offers his flesh to it and allows it to consume everything he has. Ornis doesn't understand what's happening and can only watch something begin to happen to Gloria's blood. Gloria proceeds with his ritual, and Ornis is absolutely shocked to see Gloria's blood return to his body, healing him. There's something truly evil going on around here. Gloria then declares that he is known as Gloria the Furious. He can only apologize to Ornis, because at this very moment, he's gonna take his life. Thank you so much for watching my recap. Don't forget to like the video. If you made it this far and want more deep dives into anime that actually respect your intelligence, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for Curious Nerd. We break down the smartest strategies, the craziest plots, and everything in between. Thanks for watching.